Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by 𝐀𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Izuku Yagi was a boy whose love for heroes was like no other, not because of the fame they reserved or the quirk they possessed, but just of the fact he always thought that helping people was the coolest thing ever. One day Izuku and his sister Izumi with their mother the number 5 pro hero 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 at the Quirk doctors ready to see what their quirk 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘. However, it had turned out that Izuku was diagnosed as quirkless but not his sister. Izumi had developed a quirk much like their mother's, but the difference was that the object that could be moved with the mind differs depending on her emotions called gravity control. Izumi was picked her up with praise and happiness, while on the other hand Izuku was sitting there shocked, saddened, upset, and forgotten about. At home 𝗧𝗓𝗓 Yagi was waiting for his family to find out what his kids' quirk are. In reality he was the number 1 poor hero All Might. The hero that his son looks up to the most, though his kids aren't aware of it for their one safety. The door suddenly clicked open to reveal Inko with Izumi in her arms, and Izuku was behind her still upset, though he hadn't noticed. Toshi, so how'd it go? Inko, unfortunately Izuku's quirkless, but Izumi has a gravity-controlling quirk that, while his parents praised Izumi for her awesome quirk, they had not seen that Izuku was standing there pondering what was happening. Why was he being ignored and not conferred? Was it because he was quirkless? Did he do something wrong? All these questions filled his mind over and over again, but one played on repeat more than any of them: can I still be a hero? At school everyone began mocking and avoiding Izuku like he had disease. The others looked down on him and made snarky remarks about his quirklessness. He tried to just ignore them and keep to himself. Even though he was quirkless, he still had hoped to be a hero in the future. But his so-called friend weren't too happy about that. He was sitting on a bench eating a boxed lunch that he made himself. He had gotten pretty good at cooking, though he kinda had to, since Inko had all of her focus on Izumi. Soon 4 fingers were hovering around him. They belonged to his sister and 3 best friends that recently started to avoid him like the rest. Izumi. Izuku, do you still want to be a hero? Izuku, what? Yes, more than any. He was cut off by a blast to his face, forcing him to hit the ground. His eyes began to form tears once he looked up to Katsuki with a smug smile and explosions in his hands. Katsuki, just forget it Deku, you're a quirkless useless nobody. Shoto, you'll never be a hero. Yagi Shoka, why yeah Izumi, are you listening? Izuku. Except that you will never be a hero. For that pont on Izumi and her friends would torment him for just talking about heroes. All excited Shota using their quirks to intimidate him in an endless cycle of pain. Although they keep noticed that not matter how much they hurt him, humiliated him, laugh at him, keep getting back up. Izuku's parents' attention was so focused on Izumi that they weren't aware of this bullying. All they could think about was Izumi and how she could be the next symbol of peace. One day Toshinori had told Izumi his secret about him being all might and one for all, saying that she would be his successor to his power when her body was strong enough to inherit it. Izumi asked her father, however, about her brother, but all he said to her was, well, he's quirkless and doesn't really show any of the traits to be a hero, so he's out. Unaware to them, Izuku was also there listening to everything, and he couldn't believe what he had heard. His father was the number 1 hero, the man he admired the most, and it just made everything even worse. What everybody didn't know about him was, although he didn't have a quirk, he did have a special gift. This gift allowed him to know when someone was lying or not. I know it sounds like a quirk, but it really isn't. For some reason he was just always able to know when someone was lying, and this broke Izuku more than anything else as before, because he knew that his father meant every word of what he said. All he ever wanted was for someone to notice his potential. He had been ignored for so long that no one had noticed that he had been secretly training his body just so he could defend himself against everyone who puts him down every day. And that was it. Izuku's dreams had been completely shattered, and but his father and hero at once. Time skipped to when Izuku is 11. Izuku has been walking home from school after another serious beating by his sister and her friends. Even after what his father said, he still had the smallest hope that he could still be a hero, even though everyone still kept on beating him senseless for still believing that he could. Usually he would walk home with his sister, but today he just decided to avoid her as much as possible because the next day would be his 12th birthday, and ever since that day at the doctor's he hasn't celebrated his birthday, not even once, since his parents put all their time and energy into Izumi. They would apologize and say that they would make it up to him later, but they never did. Needless to say, he really wasn't looking forward to another lonely birthday. Although unannounced to him, someone was watching him, keeping an eye on his every move. Izuku had turned around to notice a man in a business suit was standing right behind him. He was about 6'5" tall, had short white hair and had a devilish smile on his face. Izuku, who are you? AFO, hello there little Izuku, who I am isn't important, all you need to know is that the reason I'm here is to wish you a happy birthday. Izuku could tell immediately that he was lying. There was something off about this man, he gave off such a frightening aura he was too scared to move. Izuku, I know you're lying, I can always tell when somebody's lying. You didn't come all the way here to wish me a happy birthday. AFO, what do you mean you can tell that I'm lying? If I'm not mistaken, you're quirkless. Izuku, I don't know how I do it, I just always know when somebody's lying. But wait, how did you know I'm quirkless? This made All For One even more curious about this young man and wanted to learn more about him in this so-called gift his. Defo, okay, you've got me, my name is All For One, I'm here because you are the son of All Might. My greatest enemy. However, I've been watching you for quite a while and have noticed that neither your parents or your sibling or anyone has noticed all the suffering you've endured these many years, and all because you're born quirkless if I'm not mistaken. Izuku wasn't sure who this man was or why he was lying about his name, although he had heard that he said he knew his father and that he was his greatest enemy. So that can only mean that he is a villain, but what he said next entry to him caught his attention, that he still stuck around to listen what he had to say next. FO, Izuku, the real reason that I'm here is I want you to come with me. If you do, I'll give you the one thing you've always wanted more than anything. A quirk. Izuku couldn't believe what he was hearing. Did he say he could give him a quirk? Izuku, can you really do that? AFO, I take it that means you accept. Now come along little Izuku, I'm also very interested learning more about this gift you spoke of. Izuku was at a loss for words. All he could do was nod his head and slowly walk towards the man as a purple portal soon opened up next to them both, and the man caused him to follow, and he did. Once he stepped inside, he soon found himself in what appeared to be a bar and what looks like a man covered in purple mist behind the counter, and next to him was another man with what looked to be hands all wrapped around his body. Mr. Welcome back, and I'm assuming that's him. AFO, yes, this is him. Also prepare to send a message to All Might and Green Espress. Izuku, welcome to the League of Villains. Izuku couldn't believe where he was, inside the lair of a group of villains. Even though his father/hero had crushed his dreams, he still had hope, and this went against everything he believed it. But a second later, Izuku felt something, a dark, menacing aura that surrounded the entirety of where they were standing. It was even more ominous and heavy than the aura All For One gave off. His presence paled in comparison to what it was he was feeling now. But beyond that, he heard something, a voice calling to him. It sounded so deep and frightening, but at the same time he felt as though him and this dark, heavy, ominous, evil presence were somehow connecting to each other. Once Izuku had a second to breath, he had calmed down a little, but he was still feeling that massive dark aura all around him. He had also still hadn't fully processed the fact that he was standing in the middle of a villain's lair, and a second later All For One spoke. FO, now then Izuku, allow me to introduce you. This is my successor Tamura Shigaraki, and the mist mat that just left was Kurohige. Tamura, NST, or what do you plan on doing with him? FO, you'll see soon enough my boy, for now let me have a moment with him. Now Izuku, follow me. Izuku did as he said and began to follow. As he walked past Shigaraki, he noted him staring with hatred and disgust his eyes. After he was out of sight, he was led to a room with dozens of monitors and what looked like a chair with many tubes connected to it. Once they were inside, All For One took a seat in that same chair, then spoke. AFO, please have a seat. Izuku sat down. AFO, good. Now then, before we down to business, why don't we take a moment discuss a few things? I would like to know more about this gift you spoke of earlier. Izuku, I can't really explain it. For a while I thought it may have been some kind of lie detector quirk, but that wasn't the case. Afterwards I thought that maybe I was just imagining it. That was until a certain incident. FO, and what would that have been? Izuku, it was the day I overheard my dad telling my sister the secret of his quirk. And he said that I didn't have what it took to be a hero. After that, for one saw the sadness in his eyes and thought to himself, I can definitely use this to my advantage. AFO, so the so-called symbol of peace said that about his own son. I guess that was when you discovered your gift was real because you could tell he meant it, am I right? Izuku nods head. AFO, your father never believed in you, your mother turned her back on you, and your sister and her friends bully you to such extremes, all for wanting to be a hero. What a sad and pitiful life you've lived, and I'm assuming that for so long you felt like you were nothing, that you didn't have a purpose in this world, and all because you didn't have a quirk. Izuku stared at the man in shock. Everything he was saying was true. It felt like he was without a purpose. All he ever wanted was to feel like he mattered and for someone to believe in him, but no one could ever give that to him. He was about to ask something, but before he could, he heard that voice again calling to him, "Come to me," and once again felt its awful aura. He soon shivered with fear and tried to block out the sound by putting his hands over his ears. This made all of one confused but also curious. AFO, what seems to be troubling you, young Izuku? Izuku, I hear a voice, it's calling me, and I can feel something dark all around this place. All for one seems confused for a moment, but he soon realized that this boy was talking about, somehow he was able to feel it, the secret that he and his League of Villains have been hiding quite a few years. He wasn't certain about it but decided to roll the dice and see if he was correct. He soon got up from his chair and proceeded to go into another hidden room. "Fo, come with me, young Izuku, there's something I want to show you." Izuku proceeded to follow him as he did noticed that the ominous dark aura that he had been feeling all this time getting closer, as if this villain was leading him to the source of that evil presence, and he was horrified of what was waiting for him. He took his time walking to the next room but eventually walked inside, and what he saw shocked him to his very core. The room itself was massive and it was empty except for one massive object in the middle of it. There was a giant massive container almost 8 feet tall and 7 feet wide. But what terrified him was what was inside. It was black energy, so black that it could be visible in a dark alley. Izuku knew then and there that this was it. This was the source of that dark presence that he's been feeling ever since he got here. Izuku, what is that? FO, this Izuku is what you have been feeling. What you're seeing is one of the first and most powerful quirks that exist in this world. Izuku, what do you mean? AFO, let me explain what this is a quirk that much like your father's has existed and has been passed down to others since the first generation quirks. Tell me you've heard the story of the first person to develop a quirk was a young child in KK City, right? Izuku only nodded his head in response. FO, you might find this hard to believe, but there's more to that story than you know, and what you're witnessing right now is actually the second quirk that was born into this world. Izuku was beyond shocked to what he was hearing. How was something like this possible, the second quirk to ever exist, and somehow it was still around to this day? But what was even more unbelievable is how a quirk can exist without a host for it. FO, you're probably wondering how this is even possible. Well, it took me a while to figure it out myself, but soon I discovered something. It turns out this quirk actually has its own consciousness. Izuku, its own consciousness? You're saying that this quirk actually has its own mind? AFO, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, but beyond that there's something else. You see, this quirk also has a very unique ability. It actually chooses its own vessel, and if that vessel should ever die, it moves on searching for a new host to inhabit in. However, before it leaves its previous body, it takes a piece of its former host DNA and all of their memories, and in doing so their quirks, and once its new vessel has been chosen, that person can use the powers from its previous holders for themselves, but it comes with a big risk. Izuku, what kind of risk? FO, this quirk feeds off of the darkness within someone's heart, hatred, sadness, loneliness, depression, anything that is a representation of darkness this quirk feeds off. And in doing so takes the quirks that it has gained from its previous holders and transforms them into darker version of what they once were. Also, it takes incredible strain on every host that it embodies. The reason being is that it's almost impossible for anyone to not be consumed by all the negative emotions that this quirk breaks. Almost every person who has ever inherited this power has been brought to the dark side. In actuality, only one person was able to overcome all of the darkness that this Quirk mustered and keep his sanity and morality. Izuku was now at a loss for words. Everything she knew about quirks has just been turned upside down. Right after All for One had finished, he could hear that voice again. It kept calling to him, and for reasons he couldn't understand then started to walk closer towards the container. Soon enough he was right in front of it, and he could feel all of the negativity and malice up close and personal. He couldn't understand it himself, but something inside of him kept saying that he and this thing were somehow alike. All for One witnessed this for a few minutes but soon noticed something, noticed that the black energy was starting to react as soon as Izuku approached it. Then Izuku placed his hand on the glass of the container and the energy started to react even more. Soon enough it started to take shape. This had never happened before today, and he swore that what he was seeing almost looked like the shape of a pitch-black dragon. As soon as he witnessed this, he suddenly got an idea that would no doubt strike a fatal blow against the #1 hero's gold heart. Hey foe, young Izuku, there's something I believe you should know. Your father was actually the same as you when he started, like at you he was born quirkless. Izuku quickly turns head. What did you say? Foe, that's right little one, your father was just the same as you when he first started. If what you've told me about yourself is true, then you should know that I'm not lying to you. Soon after hearing that, streams of tears flow throughout Izuku's eyes. Everything up till now was already bad enough, but this just kick in the teeth to go along with all of the suffering that he's had to endure. This was the final straw that broke him altogether. Izuku, so you were saying that my own father was just like me and he still treated me this way? Sobbing AFO, yes, that's exactly right. Must be so difficult to hear, to learn that your own father and hero was just like you and he still turned his back on his own son. And now you're here alone with no one who ever believed in you and here without a purpose in life. Izuku, still sobbing AFO, but it's not too late for you. If you want, I could give you a purpose. In fact, I could definitely use someone like you, young Izuku. Izuku lifts head up. What, how could I help you? I'm just a quirkless, useless nobody. What could I do for you? FO, yes, it's true that you're quirkless, but you're far from useless. In fact, little Izuku, I actually have a special job that only you are capable of doing. What do you say you can help me with one thing and in return you can feel like you have purpose? Izuku wasn't sure how to answer this. All his life, he just wanted to feel like he was worth something, like he had a reason to exist in this world. No one he knew, neither his family nor those who he used to call his friends, would ever be willing to help when he needed it the most, no matter how much he pleaded. And here this man, a villain, was offering him a chance to have a purpose for himself. He could tell from the way he spoke that this man only wanted to use him but couldn't help himself. He was so broken after hearing the hypocrisy of his father that he nodded his head in agreement. Yes, that's how broken he was. He was willing to let himself be used if it could mean that he could feel like he was wanted by somebody at least a little. AFO, smiling evilly, excellent. Right then and there a purple portal made of mist appeared in the middle of the room, and out of it came 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨. FO, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨, you've came back. Did you deliver the message to All Might and his wife? 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨, yes, MSTR, as you requested. FO, good to hear. Now the both of you come along with me. Izuku, we're going to pay your parents a visit. 2 hours earlier, back at the Yagi residence, 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨 and 𝐴𝐻𝐾o were incredibly worried because it was now 8:30 p.m. and they had no idea where their son was. Izumi came home at around 4 in the afternoon, but Izuku was nowhere to be found, and 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨 knew that they both had left together, although for why they didn't come home together she couldn't understand. She had asked Izumi where he was, and all she said was that they got into a fight and got separated along the way. 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨 was starting to get worried after 2 hours have passed, and he still hadn't come home. He had gone to check his room to see if there were any clues as to where he could have been, but there was nothing. But what she did found was a small trash can filled with piles of bloody gauze and bandages. It was at that moment that 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨 realized that her baby boy was possibly being bullied at school, and she hadn't noticed. She soon recalled all of the time she saw Izuku beating up and bandaged and he did nothing about it. He just turned around and left him alone. She was probably so hurt and alone, and she did nothing. Soon started to sob uncontrollably, trying to recall all the memories she had of her family, and what she noticed was that from the time he was 4 up to now he hadn't been in any of those memories. All of them have left Izuku out. She soon realized that from the time that they had gone to the quirk doctor she stopped paying attention to 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 altogether, couldn't believe what she had, her baby was all alone and possibly suffering. Hint, where was she? Once 𝗧𝗓𝗡 had come home she rushed to him asking him if he had seen their son, but he only looked at her in confusion and said, "No, I haven't seen him. Has he not come home yet?" She soon led him into their son's room, showing him all the gauze and bandages that were left inside and enlightening him that they have been neglecting him from ever since that time at the doctor's. Needless to say, 𝗧𝗓𝗡's realization was more than heartbreak for him. What has he done? He was just like his son, and if anything he was probably the reason he was born quirkless, yet he still left him alone to fend for himself. After 4 more hours there was a knock at the door. They had hoped that it was their son, but to their surprise there was no one, only a small envelope left in front of their doorstep. 𝗧𝗓𝗡 picked up the letter and he and 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 began to read it. To all might and green esprits. This is the League of Villains. We have your son. If you want to see him again, come to this location alone. It had been 2 hours after the two pros had received the note that their son was taken by the League of Villains. They had told Izumi to stay with Katsuki and his family while they went out. They didn't want to worry their daughter by telling her that her brother was kidnapped, even though they could tell that he was the center of their panic state. They're now in view of the location to where they were told to be. They had contacted Detective Tsukuchi for backup. They agreed that he would stay out of sight until all of one had been taken down and they had their son back. They had now reached the front of an abandoned warehouse just outside of Mizudafu and waited for the enemy to show themselves. Soon after, a purple mist portal appeared in front of the, and out of it came All for One. It's been quite a while, All Might / Green Esprits. I must say you got here later than I expected. All of One. Screaming, where's our son? What have you done with him? Oh, don't worry, he'll be here soon. For now, why don't we catch up a little first? Give him back to us. All Might charged towards All for One. He was about to counter with an air cannon, however 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 was able to pull him closer to her husband and managed to land a solid Detroit smash to his gut at full strength. All of One was pushed back a few feet, however they had noticed something strange, that he didn't seem phased at all. What? Evil grin, was that supposed to hurt? How are you not damaged? Oh my, I was hoping to chat a little before this, but there's no helping it now, I suppose. Kurojiiri, send him out here. /GS. At that moment another portal had opened in front of them and out came their son Izuku. Once they saw him they were about to approach him to get him away from the villain. However, as soon as they were about to approach him, Izuku started coughing up massive amount of blood. They both stopped in their tracks as they were confused and scared as to what might have happened to him. They examined him and soon enough they noticed that their son was holding his stomach very tightly, as if he had been hit by a massive force right in his gut. Izuku, my baby, what have they done to you? Young Yagi, come here to you as quickly. But Izuku didn't say a word, he just lifted his head and looked at them with his dead eyes. His parents had noticed how lifeless his eyes looked, but they noticed something else, that it looked like he had been also crying uncontrollably some period of time. Oh my, what a touching reading. You 𝐵𝗫, what did you do to him? Oh, All Might, you still don't get it. I didn't do anything. You did. Haven't you noticed yet? The spot where your son is holding is the same place you struck at me earlier. All Might looked more closely at his son and realized he was right. It was the same place. But how? Allow me to explain. 1 hour earlier, All for One had just finished his preparations for when the heroes get here. There was just one last thing he had to do before they arrived. He had gestured Izuku to come closer to him. Had finished his crying an hour ago but hasn't said a word since then. Now Izuku, hold out your hand. Izuku held out his hand right then, and their black and red lightning started to appear around All for One's hands. Then soon after a strange pink string popped out of his chest, and then the other end connected to Izuku's also. Now with this take, 2 of us are connected. Izuku. The reason for the string is simple. Any pain I am dealt will be transferred over to you as long as I keep it active. You said you wanted a purpose and I'm giving you one. Your purpose in all of this is to be my shield. Well, I confront your parents, understood? Izuku slowly lowers and nods his head. Good. Back to the present AFO, and that why I didn't take any damage. 𝐺𝐮, how could you do this? FO, oh my dear 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴, you still don't seem to understand the situation, why don't I show you? Izuku, shield me from them. Izuku let go of his stomach and held out his hands out wide and stood in between the two pros and the symbol of evil. 𝐺𝐮, Izuku. Son. Why AFO, that's very good my boy, be a good meat shield and don't move. 𝐺𝐮, Izuku why? FO, oh my, you too seem surprised although you shouldn't, after all of this is your fault for mistreating your own son. The two pros were dumbfounded by what he said. How did he know about how they treated their son, but more importantly why was their son protecting him? FO, you both seem confused, well then allow me to show you. I took a look into the boy's memories and you may not like what I'm about to show you. All for one then raised his head towards the pros and called upon a memory really quick he acquired a while back and show them everything. The two of them were then soon filed with images of their son and the parts of his life that they had missed from since he was 4. And what they saw was beyond what they were expecting. They saw their son's life at school and how he was being treated. Their son was being bullied every day by his classmates, ignored by his teachers, and at home they saw how they were keeping all the attention to his sister while he just stood there in the background hiding his pain. But what got them the most was the 4 main people who were tormenting him: Kesuke, Shoto, and the most shocking, Izumi. After they saw their daughter in almost every single one of those awful memories, they thought for a moment that maybe this was some kind of trick. That was until they both saw the most heartbreaking of Izuku's memories, was the conversation Toshinori had Izumi and how he told her the secret about One for All. After seeing that both of the pros were certain now that these were genuine memories and they were beyond heartbroken and were so disgusted with themselves more than words could describe, things realized that they had forgotten about him but couldn't believe they had to this extent. Right after that the memories stopped flowing into them and both if the parents looked at their son with endless rivers of tears flowing down both of their eyes. 𝐺𝐮, Izuku. Sobbing what have I done? FO, well that's strange all might, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴, where are your smiles now huh? 𝐺𝐮, my baby what have we done to you? Sorry, I'm so sorry please come back to us sobbing. Son. Please forgive us. Forgive me for being such a poor excuse of a father. AFO, All Might, it seems you still don't fully understand, you don't get just how much you have broken this poor child. Both pros stared at him as they waited for him to elaborate further. FO, from the time your son was diagnosed as quirkless you've neglected him so much that he feels completely and utterly useless. He feels as if he has no reason to even be alive. Being forgotten by his parents, abused by his own sibling and those he once called his friends, and most of all having his dreams shattered by his own father and hero at once. My God, it's a miracle he hasn't tried and ended all by this point. Well, not that others haven't told him to do so, as you both saw just a minute ago. Both of them were beyond words. Everything he was saying was true. They had completely forgotten about their son. Toshinori was feeling the most guilty out of the two. He had grown up just like his son and yet somehow didn't notice all the signs that were plainly there. He had become a complete hypocrite. He knows just how bad it is to grow up quirkless and yet he had left his own son to fend for himself. 𝐀𝐮𝐭 wasn't doing any better than her husband. She had noticed from time to time that Izuku would come home hurt and bandaged up, but she never said anything, just left it be. And now to figure out that all this time he had been suffering all alone made her hate herself beyond what words to describe. AFO, and now look at what's happened. Your son is so desperate to have someone make him feel like he matters that he's willing to settle being a human shield for me, the symbol of evil, just so he feels like he has a purpose in this world. If he hadn't been secretly training his body, that punch you dealt me earlier probably would have knocked him out, but I can imagine at least most of his ribs heartbroken, but I suppose all that training wasn't for nothing. 𝐺𝐮, Izuku, please come back to us. I know we've been terrible parents to you, please give us a chance to make it right. Please son, listen to your mother, come back to us, give us the chance for us to be a real family. Izuku slowly lifted his head up and finally spoke. Izuku, Dad. I heard that you were going on another mission in the morning. Tell me. Do you know what tomorrow is? They looked at him for a moment, try and understand what he was talking about. So what hit them? His birthday is tomorrow. Izuku, so you did forget again. Just like always. Just, 𝐻𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, don't bother. I can tell when someone's lying. 𝐻𝐿, oh that's right, the two of you are unaware of your child's special gift. GS, WhatIf gift. 𝐹O, go on Izuku, tell them out how you tragically discovered this gift of yours. Izuku, for the longest time I don't know why but I could always tell when someone was lying. I thought it might have been a lie detector quirk that I didn't know about, but I was wrong. After a while I thought I was just deluding myself. That was until I came home one day and discovered that my gift was real. Can you guess what day that was? He looked to his father after saying that, and 𝗧𝗓𝗠 took a moment think before he realized what he was saying. It was the day I had told your sister my secret, wasn't it? Izuku, tears flowing, yeah. And that's how I discovered my gift was real, because I knew that you meant every word you said about me. Izuku, please. 𝐴𝐹O, all right, I believe that's enough. As much as I would love to continue with this, I have other things to do and I have a promise to keep. The two pros what confused to his statement, wondering what promise was he talking about and just what he was about to do until he spoke. 𝐴𝐹O, 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘, do it now. And just like that, once again purple portal opened up, and on the other side of it the two villains had begun their final phase of their plan. In no time at all 𝗀𝗏 had opened the container that was holding that enormous amount of dark power contained inside. Once it was open, the power shot right out like a waterfall and started covering the entire room until it went into the portal. Once through to the other side, the dark power started to fill the entire sky. Both the pros and their son were confused as to what was happening. Almost the entire area around them was covered in what essentially looked like an enormous black cloud. But then the power focused itself on a single point, then shut down like a rocket directly at Izuku. All of that black energy started surrounding him. He screamed in pain as every single ounce of that energy entered his body, and after a few seconds it was over. Everything of that awful power had gone inside of him, and soon he fell unconscious. Just before his parents could react, all for one had gotten a hold of Izuku. 𝐴𝐹O, just as I suspected, you are its next vessel, and now to make sure it doesn't get taken away from you too soon. The two heroes were about to charge him and take their son back just before they could. All for one had opened a portal of his own and tossed their son into it. /GS, Izuku. 𝐴𝐹O, sorry but I can't have the two of you interfering with the process. All Might charged at him at full speed and was able to land a solid 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 smash onto the villain. Once he was down, All Might grabbed him by the collar and started demanding answers. Where did you send him and what was that? 𝐹O, sorry but not even I know where he is at this point. That portal was meant to send anyone who goes through it to anywhere that I have been in the past at random. He could be anywhere in Japan for all I know. Then tell me, what was it that consumed my son? 𝐹O, what that was a very ancient devastating power, a power even more destructive than my own quirk. I first discovered it a few years ago, although I thought it was merely a myth. In basic terms you can say that power is darkness itself. GS, 𝐹O, yes that's right, a quirk made up of darkness. This power has so many interesting abilities that it was easily my most prized treasure. However, as soon as I found your son I realized that the power and him were calling to one another, so I decided to see if it truly desired for Izuku to be its next wielder, and I was right. The two of them couldn't believe what they were staring. Just what kind dark power, what's this? And was it really true what he said? This so-called power is even worse than All for One. 𝐴𝐹O, you see, this particular quirk doesn't need a host to survive. If its host body should die, it will simply leave it and search for the next suitable vessel for it. However, there was one of its abilities in particular I took special interest in, the ability to copy the quirk of any of its previous vessels, or if it happened to consume the DNA from another, it could also copy that other person's quirk even if it already has a host body. The heroes now had even more questions than before. How is something like this even possible? Throughout their whole lives they have never heard of a quirk that could do any of the things this man is saying, but before they could attempt to comprehend all this, he spoke again. 𝐴𝐹O, and just before you arrived I managed to give it some of my own DNA to add on to it. Already many list up abilities. No you didn't. 𝐹O, yes that's right, that devastating power managed to copy even own quirk. And so now that it's inside your son, that means your son now possesses the second most powerful quirks to ever existed, and my own power all for one. Just what kind of quirk is it? 𝐹O, It was the second quirk that was born into existence alongside the first quirk that was granted upon that child who was born in 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. What? AFO, the name of that quirk is. It was dark and quiet. Izuku was floating in nothingness as if he was in a dream, or more like he trapped in an endless void. But he could feel that something was in there with him. It was that presence again, but it was different this time. It feels as if it was coming from inside him. Then he heard a deep, low voice calling out to him, "It's time to wake up, you brat." And just like that he opened his eyes. Once he noticed that he was surrounded by trees and wilderness. He tried to get up but was still feeling pain from All Might's attack and could tell that almost all of his ribs were broken. However, he then started to feel a burning sensation inside him. It felt as though a blazing inferno was burning him from the inside out. After about 30 seconds the burning stopped, and then Izuku noticed something completely unordinary. He was completely healed. Izuku, what just happened? And where am I? He soon stared, walking and checking his surroundings, though it was too dark to make out anything. No matter which way he turned, he couldn't seem to find the smallest amount of civilization. It was only forest. It had been about an hour and Izuku still was wandering aimlessly, but soon enough he started to sense something, or rather two somethings. He couldn't understand it, but it was as if he was able to feel that they were people heading his way, but that wasn't all. He was getting two different feelings from them. The first one, he could clearly feel his emotions, which was nothing but fear and malice. The other one, however, was different. It wasn't emotions he was sensing, more like strange but also massive power, not unlike how the power he felt back at the villain's lair was. It was warm, almost welcoming. Then all of a sudden what appeared to be a sword made of light that pierced a tree only 5 feet from him. He soon hid behind another tree to not get caught in the crossfire. Soon after he was able to see a man running in his direction and was soon stopped by another light sword that almost hit him. Then the source of those swords appeared. It looked to be a woman about 6.5 feet tall, wearing what looked to be a hero costume with long black hair, a katana in her hand and covered in light so bright that it lit up the entirety of where they were. Izuku knew from that point that she was the source of that power he was feeling. "You've got nowhere left to run now, come quietly. Villain, I'm not going down that easily." Izuku was doing his best to keep quiet as he watched what was happening. It appeared that the woman shrouded in light seemed to be chasing down criminal all the way into the woods. However, he accidentally stepped on a tree branch behind him, which was loud enough for the two he was hiding from to turn their heads. They both saw him and looked confused as to why a kid was doing here in the middle of a forest this late at night. However, the man in it seemed to have saw this as an opportunity to get away by taking a hostage. He quickly ran up to the boy, grabbing him in a chokehold with left arm as he used his other arm and started to form fire from his fist. "Villain, come any closer and I'll incinerate this kid. Damn it, this isn't good." Izuku, choking yelled. "Me villain, just stay shut kid, you're my ticket out of this." He soon began to feel dizzy from the lack of oxygen. He thought for sure that he was going to be strangled to death. That was until he heard that voice again. "If you don't want to die kid, use my power." And it was as if 𝐬𝐶 had turned on inside Izuku, and then green and black lightning sparked around him. The man began to feel as though he was being drained of his strength and soon let go. Izuku landed on the ground breathing heavily and felt as though he was about to pass out, not knowing what it is he just done. "Villain, what the hell was that? Wait. What did that kid just do? Villain, am I Quirk? I can't feel it. You didn't brat, what did you do?" The man was about to charge towards Izuku as he was still laying on the ground, but just before he could strike, the mysterious woman charged faster than light and landed a solid kick into the villain's gut. She then ran up to Izuku to make sure he was still breathing. Then she had began to feel enormous amount dark presence that had seemed to have been emanating from inside the boy. She began moving slowly towards him and set her hand right over his chest, and soon enough she confirmed it. She knew exactly what this feeling was. "No, it can't be. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 this young." In Tartarus prison, 𝐶𝐮𝐿 and 𝐴𝐮𝐭 with Detective Tsukuchi had captured and arrested all for one. This incident had gone on all night and it was now 7:30 in the morning. There were still so many unanswered questions from to what the villains I've been plotting for the past few years, where 𝐵's comrade's hideout was located, to what is their ultimate goal is. But the question the heroes wanted the answer the most to was how could they find their son, but in the end the villain gave no answers. Toshi, I'm sorry, but we haven't been able to get anything out of him. What am I going to do, Tsukuchi? My son is missing and it's all my fault. Don't say that it not it is. It's because of me that he agreed to go with him in first place. I'm the one how crushed his dreams. Inko, teary eyes, don't take all the blame, Toshi, I'm just as guilty. I saw how he would come home hurt but never did anything about it. I left him all alone and made him feel unwanted. I know that this is difficult for the both of you right now, but what we need to focus on how to track down your son and to get more information of this so-called Yang power that he now possesses. Yeah, you're right, I've already contacted Nizu and asked him and other pros help search, but considering that he can be anywhere in Japan it won't be easy. Inko, I'm not going to stop searching until we find him. I won't be taking any missions until I know my baby's safe and sound and back with us. It was that moment that an officer came into the room holding something in his hand. Officer, excuse me, all might, 𝐻𝐮𝐬𝐴𝐵, I'm sorry to bother the both of you at this time, but I had something you might want to see. What is it? Officer, well, we found your son's school bag near the area where he had gone missing. Inko, and what? Did you find something? Officer, we found these two things that you should see. The officer handed their son's bag to her and she looked inside, and which found make her burst into tears all over again with her heart filled with more regret than she already had. It was a bottle of pills and what appeared to be a journal that had explained in gruesome detail all the awful experiences he's been through since she was 4. And at the final page it appeared to be a goodbye note in which he wrote, "To my so-called family," giving his final thoughts about them and how he wasn't able to handle it all anymore. Both of the parents look in disbelief and were heartbroken after seeing this. If they didn't hate themselves enough then they definitely did now. Inko, crying, Toshi, this can't be real. Crying, he was really going to end it. Damn it, just what have I done? I'm so sorry, you two. After about another hour they had decided to go home and try to get some rest. They were going to need it if they were going to track down their son. But before that they had contacted Mitsuki and asked to bring in Izumi and Bakugo to the house and asked Izumi to invite Shoto and Shoka as well. Their daughter had asked them why they all needed to be there, but they just told her that it was something they needed to discuss with them and told her to just wait until they got home. After a 3-hour drive they had made it home, and as soon as they walk in the door they found everybody waiting for them in their living room. They all looked confused and their daughter had a worried look on her face due to the fact that she had no idea where her brother was. Izumi, Dad, what happened? Why were you out all night? Where's Izuku? The two parents looked at her. Their daughter saw the worried written all over her face but were still livid as to everything they had found out she had done to her brother over the past 7 years. Inko, Izumi, sit down, we have something we need to tell everyone, but before that, Izumi, Katsuki, Shoto, we have something to ask you all. Shoka, what is it? Yes. Yagi, Toshi, tell us why all of you had tormented Izuku for the past 7 years. At this point all 4 of them were shocked as to how they found out about all it. Shoto was the most shocked as she never wanted to have Izuku go through all that but had never spoken up cause she was too afraid. At this they were all at a loss for words, and then Mitsuki had spoken up. Mitsuki, just what are you talking about, Toshinori? Inko, Mitsuki, you won't believe this but your son, our daughter and their friends have been bullying our son since they were 4. Mitsuki looked shocked at her friend's statement, then turned her head towards the 4 behind her as they still had shocked expressions on their faces. Mitsuki, Katsuki, is this true? Katsuki. So he actually spoke up. Inko, is that really all you have to say? Shoto, look Mrs. Yagi, we didn't. Inko, just save it, Shoto. We know everything, we saw just how all of you have treated Izuku for all this time. Izumi, just what do you mean you saw it? And where is Izuku? And so Toshinori and Inko had told all 5 of them everything, from their secret identities as All Might and 𝐻𝐮𝐴𝐵, the message they received the last night, how they found out about what they have done to their son, how Izuku willfully went with the villain and why, how he originally planned to take his own life before the villain approached him with an offer, and finally how Izuku is now missing, everything except for the secret about One for All and about the new power Izuku had been granted. Once they were done explaining, all of them has started to feel a massive amount of guilt welling up inside them. Shoka crying and no, it can't be. Shoto, is that all really tour? Mitsuki, Katsuki, what the actual F? How could all of you do this? Katsuki, we didn't mean to. Izumi, Dad. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Toshi, sorry isn't going to do anything, Izumi, and you still have told us why. Izumi. It was my idea. I was afraid he'd get hurt if he'd try to pursue being a hero, so I thought that if we intimidated him he'd give up and stayed safe. Inko, livid, you're telling me that that was the reason why you did this? Don't you see that everything you have done had the opposite effect of what you were trying to do? Toshi, and also Katsuki, why did you tell my son to kill himself? Izumi, why you did what? Mitsuki, Katsuki, what the actual fuck? Katsuki, we just didn't want him to get hurt. Toshi, and all of you thought that by using your quirks on him was the way to do it. Don't all of you understand that you made him want to give up his own life? Mitsuki, Katsuki, just shut up, you've done more than enough already. Shoka, Mr. and Mrs. Yagi, please forgive us. I never wanted this to happen, but I was too afraid to say anything. Toshi, well, that doesn't really help us now, and it doesn't erase any of what you all have done. Inko, Katsuki, Shoka, Shoto, I always thought all of you were good kids and were good friends with Izuku. But because I had stopped paying attention, I wasn't able to see that none of you were as kind as I thought. Because of my neglectful parenting and not being able to see what you are all doing to my son, he's now missing and I don't know if we'll be able to find him. Shoto, Mrs. Yagi, we're so sore. Inko, I'm sorry, but all three of you are no longer welcome in our home. Now please leave. I don't ever want to see all of you here ever again. I no longer trust any of you. All of them understood and began to leave the Yagi residence. Mitsuki had apologized to both of them before leaving, as she understood completely why they had banned them from their home. Now it was just the three of them left. Toshi had pulled Izumi aside as their conversation wasn't near over yet. As for Inko, she had gone into Izuku's room to try and contemplate everything that's happened within the last 24 hours, but beyond that all she wanted to know it was where her son was and if he was okay. Somewhere else, Izuku finally woken up after whatever WhatIf thought was nothing but a bad dream. However, to his surprise, he wasn't in his room as usual. Instead, he was in an unfamiliar room that wasn't his own nor recognized. It had tatami on the floor, a ceiling fan, and not much else, like an old traditional Japanese bedroom, and it had appeared to be daytime. But then it came again, that warm feeling from the night before was starting to approach, and soon enough that same woman had entered the room. Oh, good, you're awake. Izuku, are you the one saved me? Yes, I am. I'm Kori Kanzaki, and right now you're in my home located in the mountains in the Aokigahara forest. What's your name, kid? Izuku. Izuku Yagi. Izuku has seemed to calm down since it appeared that she wasn't a threat to him, but after a moment of looking at her closely you realize that he recognized her. Izuku, wait, I know you, you're the number 3 pro hero. Flash Princess Kaori. Oh, so you've heard of me. Izuku, of course I have. You're one of the most famous pro heroes. They said you were supposed to be the number 2, but you turned it down. People sometimes even call you the dancing princess of the battlefield. Kaori, glad to know you're a fan. However, I have questions for you, kid. Izuku, what is it? Kaori, first tell me, did you happen to get a feeling when I was approaching? Izuku nodded head. Kaori, alright, tell me, what exactly did you felt from me? Izuku, well, I don't understand why, but I get sort of a warm feeling from you. I had the same feeling last night when you were chasing that man who grabbed me. Kaori, I see, as I thought. Listen, kid, there's something else I have to ask you. How long have you had this power? Izuku, what are you talking about? Kaori, don't try and hide it. I can feel its power coming off you, that you are in possession of a fairly strong and dark quirk. It took Izuku by surprise to what she was saying, but after a minute he suddenly remembered all the events that transpired last night, especially when that massive black cloud emerged that portal and infiltrated his body. Izuku, the last night. Kaori, what? Izuku, last night, I remember now, it possessed me last night. Kaori, wait, you're saying you had this power for only a night? Izuku, yes. Oh God, what's going to happen to me now? If everything he said was true, what will this power do to me? Kaori, Whoa, just calm down, kid, take a deep breath, then start from the beginning. I'm interested now in hearing your story. So Izuku told the number 3 pro hero everything. He explained in great detail all of the events that happened within the last 24 hours. The encounter with All for One, how he discovered the mysterious power in the villain's lair, the confrontation between the villain and his parents, and finally how R managed to enter his body. Cory, wow, okay. That was a lot, but you're saying that it spoke to you and once it was free it chose you as its new holder. Izuku, why? Cory, and to top it all off, you're the son of the number 1 hero and we're born quirkless. Izuku, yes. But can I ask, how do you know about the power that's inside me? Cory, yes, I suppose I should explain that. You told me that villain named All for One told you partially about the background of this quirk, is that right? Izuku, yes ma'am. Cory, well, I'm about to tell you the entire story, so get comfortable. Backstory: the first incident was in KK City. An extraordinary child was born that radiated light. This child was the first to ever have been born with a quirk. This child's power was nothing like the world had seen before. As he grew older, people at first didn't understand his power, but soon later began to think that the powers of a god was granted upon him. He was capable of creating swords, WHPS, the ability to float, and could even heal others, and all of his feats had one thing in common: they were all properties of light. However, others didn't know was that there was another child like him who was also born with a mysterious power, but unlike how he was praised for having this other child was abandoned, outcast by everyone around him, the first being his parents. Because his power was the exact opposite of the first to be granted with a quirk, it was the power of darkness. Many were terrified. Some believed that this child was actually the devil himself. His power looked so terrifying to others that no matter where he went, people would run away, and those who didn't would stand up and try to end this young child's life. The first of those being his own father after the age of 4, when his mother took her own life due to the fact that she was so terrified of their son that she couldn't handle it anymore, and so his father blamed him for her death. The child managed to get away but was on his phone from that point on, and until the age of 15 he had a fateful encounter with the child who was born with the power of light. It turns out that these two powers were connected towards one another. One day he was walking by a park after attempting to rob a convenience store in order to feed himself for that day, but as he was walking he started to feel a very strange sensation, as if something was calling to him. What does child is not know the first wheel there was also there and was having the exact same feeling, and moth to a flame, they soon became face to face with one another. It was as if both of their powers were reacting towards one another. That's why they were able to feel each other's presence. Light and dark are two sides of the same coin after all. This encounter was strange, but as if a 𝐬𝗓 had gone off with him, both of them suddenly both of their powers started to react on their own, and as they stood there looking at each other, their powers had shown them the entire history between the two individuals. The first holder was able to see it every last horrible detail on the history, the wielder of darkness, and at the same time the other one was also able to see the first wielder's backstory. He saw how his was very different from his own. He was praised, loved for his powers as he himself was for his. And so the child who helped the power of the dark went berserk, seeing all of these images of how this child was treated just because his power was the opposite of his phone had made him lose all self-control and hardest hit power to attempt to kill child with the light. The other one tried to reason with him, but it was no use. The power of darkness had completely consumed his mind and nothing could have stopped him anymore. And so their conflict had raged for 30 long years as more people began to develop quirks, and the world's leaders were still trying to figure out a way to handle all of these powers that were showing up all over the world. The fighting between these two was until one day that these two had fought to the brink death. Both of them struck vital blows towards one another, but inevitably child of light was victorious, but not before child with darkness work suddenly evolved to a point where it was speaking to its wielder, and the child of light was able to hear what it was saying. It had told its host that, even you died, I will continue to live on in others, until one day one will come along that will understand what darkness really is. And so the child had died and his power had left his body in pursuit of a next host. The child of life was victorious, however his wounds were so severe that he knew he didn't have much longer to live. Just before his final moments began to speak inside his head that, even if you passed on from this world, I will live on and watch over my other half, and if need be will stop him if necessary. And so the first and second to be born with quirks had perished and their powers had lived on possessing others out 9 different generations. Each time one would choose a new holder for themselves, their wielders would have confrontations between each other. That was until one day that one was able to overcome the darkness and use its power for good, although the few who actually knew about these eternal quirks are very few in number. End of backstory. Kaori. And that's the story of the 2 quirks that were born into this world. Izuku. Kaori. Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable. I didn't believe it at first until I seen it for myself. Izuku. Wait, are you saying that? Kaori. Oh, so you figured it out. You're pretty smart, kid. That's right, the person who now holds the first quirk to ever existed is me. The name of my power is called Yin and your power name is Izuku. Wait. You mean like yin and yang? Kaori. That's right, yin and yang, light and dark. But enough about that right now. We need to discuss your quirk and the dangers of it. Izuku. The dangers. Kaori. Yes, but first come here. I want to attempt to look into the history of your power, because as I remember, none of the previous wielders were able to do what you did last night. You stole that man who had you in a chokehold quirk. Izuku. Wait, you mean I stole that guy's quirk last night? Kaori. Yes, that's what you did. Now come here. Izuku did as he was told and she began press their foreheads together. This was embarrassing for Izuku since the pro hero in front of him was quite appealing and he could tell was only in her mid-20s. But once their foreheads were pressed against each other, he could feel her quirk being activated, and as it did she saw all the history that she didn't know about the quirk. Once all for one had gotten hold of it, she saw how he had made it so the power would copy his own quirk into itself. Kaori. Oh, I see, so that villain had transferred some of his DNA into Yang so it could copy his own power. But I wonder why he did it in the first place. Kaori. Alright, kid, thanks for letting me see what I need to know. Now on to what you were discussing earlier. Yang is a very dangerous quirk. Ever since its first wielder perished, it has searched for new host inhabit in. However, no one was able to manage control over the immense amount of dark energy that wheels, and so almost every person who has ever possessed this power has either turned to villainy or has just gone insane. What Yang does is once its previous holder dies, their quirks and memories are transferred into it, but the powers that its previous holders had are transformed into darker versions of themselves. You see, the dark energy from Yang merges with its previous holders' quirks and their power is increased exponentially. However, the price for that is either physical and or mental strain on its next holder's body, which is why many of them had become villains or had lost their minds. It also didn't help that the negative memories and emotions of its previous holders were also passed down to its next, and so many couldn't take the mental strain. Izuku. How is all of that even possible? Kaori. You see, yin and yang are referred to as eternal quirks. Those few who know of their existence know that these 2 powers have their own consciousness and can continue to live on even when its previous holder dies, but you know this already. Your quirk in particular feed off the negative emotions that you possess, and it uses it to make itself stronger. In doing so, you could potentially unlock 100% of all of your quirk's abilities. However, the price would be for you to be consumed by the darkness and losing yourself. It's the opposite of mine. My power yin has the ability to produce and manifest weapons or shields out of light based on every previous holder's imagination. Every previous holder of yen has created something new, and the next person that possessed the power after them were able to use the abilities date concocted within their imaginations for themselves, although if the price is you can't utilize all of their abilities at 100% right off the bat. You see, the power of light has become so strong over the years that if someone tried to use the full power of it, their body would be burned from the inside out. So one must gradually learn to master each different ability that this quirk has so they don't burn themselves out. I myself have only had this power for about 5 years. Izuku. All of this is unbelievable. But wait, 5 years, but you're the number 3 pro hero. If what you say is true, then how did you master it in that amount of time? Kaori. Yes, you see, before I was a pro hero, I worked secretly for the Japanese government in, let's say, less than legal cask. During my time working for them, I had developed an ancient skill that how to make my body more tolerable and stronger than most people. Some believed I had to strengthen enhancing quirk. That I had mastered this skill so much it helped me along the way once 𝐶𝐮 chose me as its new holder. Izuku. What is this ancient skill? Kaori. Sorry, but it's a secret skill. It's something that the public isn't aware of. If they were, then there would be in chaos, so I can't tell you. Izuku. Well, okay. So what happens now? Kaori. You tell me, after everything I've said, what do you plan to do now? Izuku took a moment to think about her question. He had no idea what he wanted to do now. He didn't want to go back home after everything that happened. He still couldn't forgive his family for everything they put him through, and now he learns that he has two evil powers inside of him, but he soon realized that maybe, just maybe, this could be the opportunity he was waiting for. Izuku, I want to be a hero. Kaori, what? Izuku, I said I want to be a hero. I don't want to go back home. I want to train under you. You are the only one who knows all the details about my power, so please. Bows his head, train me. Kaori, wait, hold on, why don't you want to go back home? I'm sure your parents would understand if you just explained to them everything. Izuku, I don't know how to explain it to you. Kaori, well, tell you what, one of the previous holders had a memory transfer quirk, so why not show me instead of telling me? Go ahead, give it a shot, although how Yang managed to change it I don't know yet. And so Izuku dug deep inside himself, attempting to harness the power of Yang to show all of his memories so she could fully understand why he had such resentment towards his family. And soon enough he was able to do it, all of the his sister's torment, his parents' neglect, his friends turning on him and bullying him for 7 years, everything. Kaori was seeing everything, and it wasn't what she was expecting, but she soon realized that she wasn't just seeing his memories, he was feeling everything he was feeling inside them. All the pain from the bullying others had inflicted on him, the emotional sadness he felt after the beatings, and how broken he was after 𝐬𝐶, how his father had shattered his dreams. She was feeling all of it as if she was the one living his life. Once the memories had finally stopped, she was at a loss for words. This child was so broken, yet still somehow possessed the heart of a true hero. It was ironic that someone with such a heart of gold was now in possession the darkest quirk in existence. All this kid ever wanted was for someone to notice his heroism, and she did, and so she put her hand on top of his head and had made a decision. Kaori, Izuku, I have decided, I will train you. Izuku, I you will. Kaori, yes, I will. I've seen that you truly do have a heart of gold. I believe that you might be able to overcome the power that's inside you now. But be warned that Yang is still a power of darkness. If you plan to become a hero, then you won't be able to unlock 100% of all of your different abilities. The only way you could is if I teach you the ancient skill that I learned to 𝐬𝐿 in the 5 short years that I've had it. Izuku, you're going to teach me this ancient skill that you learn. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, yes, but I'm going to warn you now, this isn't something you should go around teaching others, so if anybody asks about the amazing things you're going to be able to do once our training is done, try to avoid exposing the secret as much as you can. Izuku, I understand. Kaori, good, now tell me, you still want to go to UA, don't you? If you still plan to go, you might have to confront your parents and other pro heroes once you're accepted. Izuku, I realize that, but I still want to go to UA. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I still have 3 years to prepare myself before then. Kaori, all right then, it's decided, but before we start, let me ask you, what kind of training do you want me to give you? Izuku, hell, I want you to put me through hell so that I can show the entire world that I can overcome anything that's thrown my way and prove to those who ever doubted me that I can be a hero. Kaori, smiling, well, all right then, for the next 3 years I'm going to put you through absolute hell to make sure you're well prepared for when UA exams begin. But first let me tell you about the different quirks that you possess, including the one you stole last night. Izuku, all right. Quirks, shadow control, allows you to move within and manipulate shadows / isn't so effective at night. Memory transfer allows you to transfer yours or others' memories to others / but the others seeing the memories feel all of the negative emotions and feels as if they were living that person's lives through their negative memories. Dark body enhancer, black energy surrounds the body and enhances the user's physical abilities by 50% / however, if consumed by wrath the user we will gain even more power but go berserk. Mortal flame fist. Crimson flames engulf the user's fist and burn at a temperature so hot as if they come. Mother Nature herself also makes the user resistant towards fire / but if left unchecked, the temperature of the flames can incinerate almost anything they touch. Burning regeneration, regenerative abilities that can heal practically any wound the user receives, even regenerating limbs / however, as the body is regenerating, a burning sensation envelopes the user as if the fires of hell are burning inside, which takes massive strain on the heart and takes a lot of stamina away. Pain transfer, the user can transfer another's physical and/or emotional pain onto themselves simply by making skin contact. However, to absorb emotional pain, one must first need the other's complete trust and can only take a small portion of it. If they try taking all of it at once, then the emotional trauma will be transferred back to its original owner but will be several times more painful than before. Delete, capable of completely erasing others' quirks and leaving them quirkless. Merge, the user is capable of merging two separate quirks and combining them to create something completely new / isn't effective with mutation quirks. All for one, capable of stealing quirks from others and keeping them for themselves, or can transfer them to others leaving the original holder quirkless. Darkness flame, the user summons pitch black fire that are so hot they burns away anything it touches, even capable of burning other types of flames / the black flames can't be put out by anything until it completely incinerate what its target is. Izuku, nerding out, my god, all these powers are so awesome. Kaori, yep, but remember they're also dangerous and Yang will try and make you go against your heroic nature, so you must train to not only your body to the absolute limit but also your mind so you can fight back against its negative influence. If you can accomplish that, then you just might be able to use your powers at 100% and more importantly use them for good. Izuku, I promise no matter what it takes I'll do it, throw whatever you've got it, I can take it. Kaori, alright then, for now rest up because tomorrow morning we start your first day of absolute hell. And so Izuku's first step in becoming a real hero began. For the next 3 years he will experience hell like never before. Determined to show all those who doubted him that he can be a hero, will he be able to overcome Yang and its dark influence and 𝐀𝐮𝐬𝐴 it completely. It was April 10th in Mizudafu in the afternoon. In Takoba bus station, a bus had buelled in that was coming from Fujiyoshida near Akigahara. Once it had stopped, only one passenger had gone off. It was Izuku. Once he was off the bus, he had taken a moment to look at his old childhood city. It had been almost 3 years since he decided to not return after he met his 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝑇R. His training had been even more hell than he thought, but he was able to make it through it, but not without some price. His mental training went better than expected. However, the massive amount of dark power that 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿 had changed him both physically and mentally. His hair and eyes had both go completely black, and his personality had become more to keeping to himself and not wanting to interact with anyone other than his He could still acted polite to others and still had the ambition to help those that were in trouble. However, now his face or his attitude weren't able to express those feelings any longer. His face had now a permanent bored expression and scowl, but beyond that his smile, the one that he wanted have to convince others that everything would be alright, was gone. Once he was done with his little moment, he began to walking to his new home that his 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝐿 had set up for him. She had left for a mission a week ago and arranged for him to continue his training on his own, and so he could be close to you. To be on time for the exam in 10 months. After walking for about 30 minutes, he reached the address that his 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝐿 gave him and was in front of the house that he would be staying in. He soon began to explore every corner of his new home, first beginning with the living room, then the kitchen, the bathroom, and finally the bedroom. Once he was done exploring, he had put all of his belongings he brought with him to his new bedroom, then gone to the outside balcony to look at the view. He took a moment and remembered the conversation he had with his 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝐿 the week before he left to move back here. Flashback. Kaori, Izuku, I'm afraid that I have to leave for a long mission, so you'll have to continue the final few phases of your training on your own. Izuku, how long will you be gone, Sir? Kaori, can't say, it could take days, weeks, months, you never know, but I've already taken the liberty of submitting your application for the exam. And I've done as you asked and only put you down as Izuku, since you decided to cast out your family name. Izuku, thank you. Kaori, however, even though your hair and eyes, not to mention your personality, have gone through drastic changes, that doesn't guarantee that no one would recognize you once you're accepted. Izuku, I'm aware, but I'm prepared to deal with it. Kaori, well, alright then, now let me tell you about where you'll be staying. It's a small house in the Takoba district. I'm going to give you access to one of my bank accounts and a card to help pay for your living expenses. Use it for food, the bills, and clothing, but nothing else, because I'll know you buy anything unnecessary. Izuku, I promise I won't. Kaori, if you want to spend money for entertainment purposes, you'll have to get a part-time job. Luckily, I've already covered that for you. Once you get back to Mizudafu, you'll have 2 days or meeting with someone might be willing to offer you a job. Izuku, Who exactly is it and where will I be meeting them? 𝐻𝐻𝐿, she's an old friend of mine that runs an orphanage. She said she'd be willing to give you a trial run. However, there's one other reason why I want you to specifically work there. Izuku, and what's that, Mr. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, I've told you about my past before I became the new successor of 𝐻𝐮𝐻𝐿 and decided to become a hero. However, the one thing I didn't tell you about that time was that a few years ago I had a child. A baby girl, but her profession of my old job, there was no way I could ever raise her or even keep her safe, so I decided that it would have been best to put her in the care of my old friend and make sure she never knew anything about. However, once I decided to walk the path of a pro, my former bosses informed child service about who I was and what I did for them to make me regret my decision and decided that I wasn't allowed anywhere near my daughter since they thought that I wasn't. Many of my enemies would come looking for me. Izuku, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But then why do you want me to go there? 𝐻𝐻𝐿, I want you to see how she is doing, and if she needs it, help her out in any way you can. I'm sure growing up in the system isn't easy for any child, so I just want to be sure that she's doing all right. She does know what my name is, however she doesn't know anything about who I am or what I do now. Lowers her head. I just wish I could tell her that I never wanted to give her up in the first place. Izuku, 𝐶𝐻𝐿, I swear I'll do whatever I can to make sure that your daughter knows that you've never wanted to make that choice but that you just wanted to protect her. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, thank you Izuku. That's my prize student. Izuku, I'm your only student. End of flashback. After reminiscing about his last conversation with 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, he had decided to take a quick shower, make himself some dinner, and call it a day. The next day, Izuku had decided to go to 𝐒𝐮𝐴 beach to form some training before going to the orphanage. Once he got there, he noticed the massive amount of trash that has piled up over the years on the shore. So he decided that he would make cleaning the beach up part of his training also, but before that he had to practice the secret skill that he gained through his 3 years training with 𝐻𝐻𝐿. He stood still and took a natural position to focus and hold the life energy around him, remembering the day his Mr. told him about her secret to how 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 in a short amount of time. Flashback. It had been a day since 𝐻𝐻𝐿 had taken in Izuku and chose to train him. She had taken him to an area surrounded by rock. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, alright Izuku, before we can begin training you to control 𝐻𝐻𝐿 and your other quirks, there's something that you must learn. What I'm going to teach you is how to harness your own life energy or chi. Izuku. Chi. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, yes, you see, chi is also what we call aura. It's a power that lives within everyone. This has existed much longer than quirks, however at a present time only a select few are capable of unleashing this power. Izuku, a power that everyone has. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, yes, and there are 2 means to awaken that power, slow and carefully or by force. You're going to take the slow and careful path, since doing so will also help you as mental training to control 𝐻𝐻𝐿 better. Izuku, I still don't understand. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, chi is power that dwells within every living person, which makes it very effective against other humans. It's incredibly dangerous. If you attack someone who doesn't know how to manipulate chi, you call kill even the most dangerous villains using aura alone. Izuku, that's hard to believe. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, well, it's true, and also there are other things you need to know about. The 4 exercises that are critical to mastering chi. The ability to surround your body in aura, making it tougher and reducing the effects of aging. Shutting of your flow of chi aura to conceal your presence and recovering from fatigue. 𝐾𝐮, a technique for creating an especially strong chi aura. It is crucial for increasing your power. 𝐬𝐻𝑒𝑡𝑠𝑢, the release of your chi aura after using 𝐾𝐮 to boost it. These principles are known as the 4 exercises and are critical for mastering chi. Izuku. I'm even more confused. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, here, just watch me. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 then pulled out what looked like 2 chokers and gave one to Izuku. Then put the other on herself. Izuku. What are these for? Quirk nullifiers. Put it on. Izuku, okay. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, I'm going to show you a demonstration of chi. Izuku then suddenly felt some kind of pressure surrounding him. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, do you feel that? Izuku, why yeah, it's like pressure, but it doesn't feel creepy at all. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, that's because I have absolutely no malice. You see, only one thing can protect you from a user. If chi, you must learn to use it yourself and use ti for defense otherwise. The pro the walk up to massive boulder and gently placed her hat upon it. But then in that split second, as if she attempted to push it, there appeared a giant crack that almost reached the two of the boulder. Has some kind of massive pressure that he couldn't see had cracked it. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, Your body will be shattered beyond a recognition. And a flashback. After about 10 minutes of practicing his Thai, he began to clean up the beach for about 2 hours. Once he was done, he ran back to his home for a Quirk show. Then once it was done, made his way to the orphanage that his MSTR told him about. It was about an hour walk west to where he was living, but soon enough he reached it. Once he was in front of it, it took a good long look. Noticed that it wasn't what he was expecting. It looked more like an apartment complex in a traditional orphanage, but nevertheless he made his way inside and told the receptionist up front that he had a meeting with someone today. Women: yes, may I help you? Izuku: yes, my name is Izuku. I have a meeting with some today around this time, but I don't know what their name is. Women: okay, just let me check for a second. Is it just Izuku? Izuku: yes. Women: oh yes, here it is. It says here you have a meeting with Kyoko. I'll just call her down. After 2 minutes of waiting, a woman with purple hair with pale skin and glasses that looked to be about 6.5 feet tall came downstairs. She looked to be about 25 years old. Kyoko: hello, you must be Izuku. I'm Kyoko Kurosawa. It's nice to meet you. Izuku: it's a pleasure to meet you too, Miss Kurosawa. Kyoko: oh, please call me Kyoko. Now anyway, down to business. Kaori told me about you and that you're looking for work. She also told me that your cooking skills are quite impressive. Would you be interested in cooking for the children in the afternoon after they're done with school? Izuku: yes, actually that would be nice. I do know my way around the kitchen. Kyoko: normally I wouldn't do this, but I know what kind of taste Kaori has in food, and if she speaks highly of someone's cooking, then I know they're excellent. I bet cooking for her is challenging. Izuku: oh, you don't even know the half of it. Kyoko: are you all right with working from Monday through Friday? Izuku: yes, that's fine. However, for until my move back, I've been homeschooled by my MSTR, and in 10 months I will be applying to UA. So once I'm accepted, can we work out a later time for me to get here after? Kyoko: yes, of course, I've already considered that. But now for the other reason you're here. I'm sure you already know that Kaori had a daughter and she is here since child services won't allow Kaori near her. Izuku: yes, I know. She asked me to get to know and watch over her while I'm working with you. Kyoto: yes, her daughter isn't what you call the most happy child here. She believes that she was abandoned here by her mother because she didn't want her. And the reason she thinks that is because many of the other children here were also abandoned for the reason or another. Many of the children here were abandoned due to the fact that they're quirkless. Izuku: quirkless. Kyoko: yes, please follow me. As Kyoko's dragged Izuku throughout the entire orphanage, he got a glimpse of all the children but she hadn't taken care of. Many of them reminded him of himself. They looked as they were once happy and full of life, but now all the life looked as though it had been drained out of their eyes. Soon enough, Kyoko had pointed out his MSDR's daughter. Her name was Nozomi, and the first thing Izuku noticed was that she was a spitting image of his MSDR. But Izuku started to notice something else. Thanks to the power of Yang, he was able to feel all the negative emotions Nozomi and all the other children were feeling. It felt as he was standing in a room filled with miniature versions of himself, since he knew exactly what they were going through, and all he could think of was, this is going to be a long 10 months. 10 months later, February 16th, Izuku had already cleaned the beach 8 months ago and spent the remainder of his training focusing how to control his chi and also strengthening his body and mind to better control Yang. His power would still make him have nightmares of his past and have him waking up in the middle of the night feeling anger towards his so-called family and friends. But once he got to work at the orphanage, cooking and interacting with the many children helped distract him at least a little, though he still wasn't able to regain his smile. Izuku tried many times to interact with Nozomi and also try to tell her stories about her mother, but she wasn't interested. She would normally avoid Izuku when he was in the same room as her and go off on her own. But today she wanted to get as far away not just from him but also everybody else. You see, today was her birthday and she was not happy about it, since for her it was just a reminder that her mother supposedly abandoned her. And so she attempted to sneak out of the orphanage and go wander off on her own. Little did she know Izuku was watching her every move. He noticed that she had made it past the front gate and was heading into the city, so he immediately ran after her. Izuku called out to her, and when she noticed he was on her tail, she made a break for it. Izuku's legs were exhausted from overtraining them that he had trouble keeping up, and soon he noticed that she was running toward a block where they were doing construction. By some cruel joke of the gods, a huge metal beam was hurling down right in the direction where she was running. Izuku noticed that's right away, but there wasn't enough time for him to yell at Nozomi to stop, and so out of instinct he immediately thought of trying out one of the new skills she had been working on during his training, and focused all of his chi and into his legs, and just before the beams fell on her he immediately was hovering above her, holding the beam in place with superhuman strength and without the power of yang. As though he had instantly just teleported in the position where Nozomi was in time to catch the beam, but in reality it was actually hyper-accelerated technique that increased his speed to the point we are almost as fast as lightning, faster than the human eye could ever see. Thanks to all of his training and his clever use of chi, he was able to hold the beam up and push it onto the sidewalk without the use of Dark Enhancer quirk. As Nozomi watched this, she looking in awe. She had no idea Izuku was this strong. She never tried to get to know him before since she figured out she had a connection to her who abandoned her, but as she witnessed how he instinctively just moved to save her, she thought that maybe he wasn't so bad after all, despite the fact that he never smiles. Izuku, Nozomi, are you okay? Nozomi, why? I'm okay. Izuku, thanks God. Come on, let's go back. He then let out his hand and she gladly took it and began to walk back to the orphanage. Unannounced to them, two particular people on opposite sides of the street witnessed the entire event. One was a raven-haired girl in a ponytail that looked like she belonged to a prestigious family, and the other was none other than Izuku's father in his skinny form. Who was that? He just saved that girl and it looked like he just appeared before in front of that beam before it could hit her. I don't know who that was, but that boy was certainly 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, but why did I get the feeling that he was somehow familiar? February 26th, it was the day of the UA entrance exams and Izumi was making her way towards the academy with Bakugo. It had been 3 years since her brother had went missing and things were never the same. Over time things have gotten a little better at home, but walking to UA reminded her about how badly her brother wanted to be a hero and she wished she could take back everything she had done to him. She then started remembering the conversation she had with her father and told him that she decided she didn't want to be the next bearer of one for all. She felt as though she didn't deserve it after everything she had done and told her father to find someone who is worthy of inherited because what she did was not what a hero is supposed to do. As the two made their way towards the exam, they noticed that Shoto and Shoko were waiting for them by the entrance. Shoka, Izumi, Katsuki over here. Izumi, Shoka, Shoto, hey you guys. Shoto, how are you this morning? Izumi, oh you know. Shoto, you're thinking about your brother aren't you? Izumi, why? Shoka, it's okay Izumi, I wish he was here too. Izumi, it's just, he should be with us right now. Katsuki, there's no use in dwelling on it. Come on, we need to get inside and you two need to head to the waiting area already, damn it. Izumi, why? Let go. As they were about to head inside, Izumi noticed that a short brown-haired girl that was about the same age and height as her was about to trip over until she was saved by a boy that wasn't in a middle school uniform. He was dressed in nothing but black boots, jeans, jacket, shirt, and even his hair and eyes were nothing but black. But for some reason she got the feeling that he looked familiar somehow. As they got inside, they saw that the pro hero Present Mike was explaining the rules of the exam. Then out of nowhere a certain tall blue-haired guy started asking a question about the fourth robot that Present Mike hadn't yet talked about and started criticizing UA for making such a mistake. And soon afterwards he called out to the boy dressed in all black that was sitting just a few rows away from them. Ida, you in all black, why aren't you wearing your school uniform? If you're not here to take this exam seriously, then leave. This set Izuku off. He was already in a bad mood since he noticed that his sister and Bakugo were in the same room as him, and all those negative emotions that he had tried to suppress started coming back. And once those feelings had started coming back up to the surface, Yang immediately started enhancing the negativity that he was already feeling since he still hated the two of them. Needless to say, he was not in the mood to deal with anybody SHT right now. And so he started releasing a lot of negative chi, and practically everyone in the auditorium was able to feel it and started feeling scared. Izuku, will you shut up? If you hadn't noticed, he hasn't finished explaining everything yet. So do me a favor and shut the F up before I go over there and make you. After Izuku's outburst, the blue-haired guy sat back down in shame and with fear. Then Present Mike had issued him to calm down and began to explain the nature of the final robot. Soon after he was done, they all started heading towards their assigned blocks. Izuku noticed that the girl he had caught earlier was in the same block as he was. She looked nervous. He could easily feel how worried she was right now, but decided to just keep to himself since he didn't know her. Once the doors opened, Izuku immediately used accelerated speed technique to get ahead of the other applicants. As he was doing this, he thought to himself, "Sorry MST, I know you put me on recommendation, but I just can't wait to test what I can do." He began to take down robots one by one using only his bare fist combined with chi, not wanting to go overboard by using any of Yang's abilities. The judges in the observatory room witnessed this and asked to themselves how this young man was taking out so many robots just using only his physical strength. One of the judges in particular pointed out that he hasn't activated his quirk yet. "Aizawa, that boy's physical strength is astonishing. It looks like he isn't using his quirk at all." "Nizu, yes, I know what you mean. I've never seen anything like this before." "What's this young applicant's name?" "Midnight says his name is Izuku." "Aizawa, Izuku what's his family name?" "Midnight, it doesn't say, it just says Izuku." "Hey, wasn't there supposed to be a child recommended by Flash Princess with that name?" "Nizu, yes, I believe you're right. Then what's he doing taking the exam?" "Aizawa, wait, look closely at him. The eyes and hair are different, but doesn't his face resemble All Might's missing son?" "Midnight, now that you mention it, I believe you might be right, but if that's really him, should we pull them out of the exam?" "Nizu, no, let's let him finish the exam. I want to see what he's capable of." The exam was reaching its climax. Izuku had already gathered more than enough points to guarantee him a spot in the hero course, but just before he was about to call it a day, he heard screams ahead of him. He saw that the giant zero-pointer was heading towards him and many other applicants were running away, but then he soon noticed that the girl from earlier was trapped under some debris and what's in the direction where the zero-pointer was heading. Without thinking, Izuku immediately started running towards the giant robots in an attempt to save her. Even though he had lost all emotion in his face, he still had the instincts and heart of a hero. He soon activated his Ken and increased the power of his chi, and also combined dark enhancement to add extra power, and hit the zero-pointer with a fist so powerful not only did it shatter, but the shockwave was enough to blow many other applicants away, but also the robot itself was thrown back so far it had almost reached the other side of the city. As Izuku was falling, he thought of a way how he could land and channeled more of his chi into his legs and landed swiftly on his feet without him feeling any pain. As he picked himself up, he went to the girl that was still under the debris and easily lifted it off of her. "Izuku, hey, are you okay?" Ochako, blushing, "Oh, yes, thanks for saving me." "Izuku, your ankle looks like it's twisted. Here, let's get you to the infirmary." Izuku then started to carry the girl bridal style to Recovery Girl's office to get hurt ankle checked out. The other applicants who witnessed everything were dumbfounded as to how someone could be so powerful and survive a fall like that and not feel anything. The pros were also at a loss for words as they couldn't understand what they had just witnessed. Izumi was also there and had witnessed everything. She couldn't take her eyes off the boy dressed in all black. It was as if something was telling her that she knew him somehow. "Aizawa, I want that boy in my class." "Nizu, it's rare for you to show this much interest in someone, but first things first, we need to confirm if he really is All Might's missing son." After Izuku had dropped off the girl at a Recovery Girl's office, there was soon an announcement on the monitor he really wasn't too surprised to hear. In all honesty, he had expected this and was already prepared. "Will the applicant Izuku please report to Principal Niza's office immediately?" Izuku, "Well, 𝐶𝐻T, I had a feeling this would happen, but I'm still not looking forward to it." After dropping off the girl he saved at Recovery Girl's offices, Izuku began to make his way towards Principal Niza's office. He already knew why he was called in, but he still wasn't looking forward to it. He had reached the door to the office and began to knock. Izuku, knocking. "Hello." "Nizu, yes, come in." Once he was in, he saw the principal sitting at his desk along with a tired-looking man that he recognized as the pro underground hero Eraserhead. "Nizu, hello there, young man. I'm sure you're wondering why we called you in here." "Izuku, I believe I already know." "Aizawa, is that so?" "Izuku Yagi." "Izuku, it's just Izuku." "Nizu, you can't fool us, Mr. Yagi. We know that you're All Might's and 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐴𝐵's son and that you have been missing for 3 years. "Izuku, I never said I wasn't." "Aizawa, you just said, Izuku." "I said I'm just Izuku. That can mean a lot of different things. In my case, it means that I have cast off the Yagi name." 𝐻𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, so you say that you have cast aside your family name? Young man, do you have any idea how worried your family has been these past 3 years? Look, whatever problems you might have had with them is no excuse for disappearing without a trace or so long, even Izuku. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. You say that you know who I am, but going off from what you said it sounds like that you don't know the whole story. 𝐻𝐻𝐦𝐴, what do you mean? Izuku, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that the two of you think that I'm being a spoiled brat and that I'm rebelling against my parents. So I'm going to assume that All Might had asked you for help is searching for me without telling you the entire story of why I went missing in the first place, am I right? Aizawa, okay, I'll bite. What is the whole story? Izuku, sigh. I'm not surprised that you don't know anything. Instead of telling you, I'm going to do you one better. I'll show you that way the two of you will fully grasp everything that the so-called symbol of peace has been keeping from you. And so Izuku raised his hand up in their decision. The two were puzzled by this, but before either of them could react, their minds had started to be filled with images of the boy's past. Izuku wasn't sure if they knew about All Might's secret, but it didn't matter to him. He wanted them to understand just how much pain his so-called family had caused him. However, due to the effects of 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, the both of them were feeling all of the physical and emotional pain that Izuku had felt up to the incident with All for One 3 years ago. However, he didn't show him what had happened to him afterwards since he didn't want to expose the secret of chi to them. Once he was done showing them his memories, the two looked at Izuku in pity. They couldn't believe this boy had gone through so much pain. So many different emotions were going through the two of them, but what they were mostly feeling was completely anger towards his family, especially All Might. 𝐻𝐻𝐦𝐴. Young Izuku. So, Izuku, stop, you don't have a reason to apologize, besides I don't need your pity. Aizawa, I still can't believe it. How could that man be such a hypocrite? Izuku, how do you think I felt when I first found out? Aizawa, but I still don't understand, why didn't you come back? Izuku, if you had been ignored, beaten and humiliated by your own family and friends just for being born different, would you want to return? 𝐻𝐻𝐦𝐴. Izuku, and most of all, I had my dreams crushed by both my hero and father. I always thought that the #1 hero was supposed to inspire others and give them hope. But after learning what All for One told me, it made me realize 2 things. First, that even someone like the #1 hero eventually ends up forgetting how they started out. My dad was just like me, and he still treated me like the rest of society treats the quirkless. And finally, in this world, if you're quirkless, you can't count on anybody to buy your side. Everyone will turn their backs on you, and you'll be treated as less than human, even your own family. The 2 heroes were paying close attention to what this boy was, and it was heartbreaking. It was incredibly hard to believe that his family would put him through such an ordeal. But after close examination, this young man, they realized that it was all true. This boy standing in front of them had been broken both in body and soul, and as heroes it made them feel all the worse, since it's supposed to be their job to rescue people like him. But after observing this young man, they weren't sure if it was even possible anymore. 𝐻𝐻𝐦𝐴. Izuku, words can't express how sorry I am and how livid I am with your family. However, I still have a question for you. Where exactly have you been these past 3 years? Izuku, you saw how I was recommended by Flash Princess on my application, didn't you? Aizawa, yes, and Izuku, right after the incident she found me and took me in, and that's all I'm going to say. Gets up and begins to walk away. 𝐻𝐻𝐦𝐴, where are you going? Izuku, I have a job that I need to get to. Aizawa, you can't leave. Izuku, I live by myself, I need to work in order to survive, so I'm leaving. Aizawa, hold it right there. But before Aizawa could finish, Izuku had started sending malicious chi towards the two. He didn't use so much that it would be harmful to the two of them, however he needed to get to work, and he already wasted enough time. The chi that he was giving off was enough to make the two back off and stop any further attempts of keeping him there. Once Izuku was sure they had gotten the message, he stopped releasing his chi and told them one final thing before he left. Izuku, look, I'm sorry, but I have to go. Besides, I believe you have other things to worry about. And so he left for the orphanage, since he was sure that those kids would be getting hungry soon. After he left, 𝐻𝐻𝐦𝐴 and Aizawa had to take a moment to take in everything that had just happened. After about a minute, 𝐻𝐻𝐦𝐴 had ordered Aizawa to call Izumi, Katsuki, Shoto and Shota to his office while he called up All Might to come to you to discuss his daughter's acceptance. He also took the liberty of calling one other person in order to help out in clarifying exactly why Izuku's family and former friends had treated him so poorly. After 10 minutes of waiting, the two applicants and recommended students had entered into his office. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗟, oh, I see all 4 of you have come. Izumi, we were told you wanted to see us. 𝐴𝐵𝐵 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗟, yes, but we're going to wait until your father gets here. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗟, then we'll discuss why all of you are in here. Izumi, wait, why is my dad coming? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, when he gets here you'll find out. Besides, I actually have something I have to say to him as well. Another hour had passed and All Might had finally arrived at 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏's office. Once he arrived, the first thing he noticed was his daughter and her friends all together. Hello, Principal 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, yes, All Might, come in. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, what is going on here? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, what is going on here is that we are having second thoughts about accepting your daughter and her friend into you. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, what? Katsuki, what the F? Izumi, why Principal 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏? Surprised 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, what is this all about? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, what this about All Might is, you know that our school had very strict rules that every student must abide by in order to be heroes. One of which is to not have a history of bullying the innocent, otherwise how could we possibly trust them to protect the innocent as full-fledged heroes after graduation? Izumi, what are you getting at? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, bullying isn't something we tolerate, especially if the reason was for them being different from you, such as tormenting someone for being born quirkless, for example. Izumi, Katsuki, Shoto, Shoka, Principal 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, I trust that all of you have figured out where I'm going with this. How did you find out? Shoto, yes, how? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, that's an exalted question, but before I answer that, how about you tell me why you hid this from us, All Might? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, and also why did you hid the main reasons behind your son's disappearance? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, I see you don't have an answer. I'm not surprised. In that instead Shoto walked into his office along with the special guest 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏 requested to be there. Aizawa, 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, I brought her as you asked. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, oh Aizawa, thank you. Aizawa, frowning, oh you're here, All Might. Aizawa, you're here too. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, alright everyone, let me introduce you, this is Yumi Tsuna, the mind-reading hero, and A's #1 counselor. Her quirk is called mind transfer. I asked her to be here to help us better understand exactly why you kept all of this a secret from us. Yumi, I already saw everything that happened here in Shoto's memories, so I have a decent grasp of the situation. Shoto, what exactly is going to happen now? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, you asked me how exactly we found out what all of you have done. What I'm about to tell you may shock you. Izuku Yagi was here about 2 hours ago. We asked him here right after the exam and he revealed everything to us. That's how we found out. Katsuki/Shoto/Shoka, what? Izumi, that boy in black, he had the same name. No, it couldn't be him. You're saying my son is alive and he was here. Why didn't you keep him here then? Aizawa, eyes glowing, I don't think you have the right to be angry with us since you kept such important information secret. It was a surprise when you first reveled that you had a son that you never mentioned, and now after 3 years we find out from himself that you were hiding the most important reasons for why he went missing in the first place. Aizawa, what, you have nothing to say for yourself? Not a single one of you have any idea just how much your damage your actions have done to him. Izumi, what do you mean? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, Yumi, could you use your quirk to show them what we witnessed earlier? Yumi, of course 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏. Yumi then began to use her mind transfer quirk in order to show all the memories 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏 and Aizawa had in the past 2 hours. All 5 of them were witnessing the conversation both of the pros had with Izuku in his office. Izumi was seeing this and it confirmed her suspicions that the boy she saw during the exam was indeed her brother. However, it was also bringing her to tears. Shota followed soon after. She couldn't believe that he was alive and that they were so close, but they missed him. She had secretly been in love with Izuku ever since they were kids but never talked to anyone about it. But even though she knew she was not out of the woods yet, she couldn't help but feel relieved that he was alive. All Might was beyond stunned from what he was seeing. His son had changed so much. His green hair and eyes that once resembled 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 were now solid black, not to mention his outfit. But what he was really focusing on was the fact that his son had finally been found, although this was short-lived as he and the rest of them were now witnessing the conversation Izuku had with Nizu and Aizawa. All could see just how lifeless his eyes and facial expressions have become, but what got them the most was the words he spoke because they all knew everything he was saying was true. Ever since that day that Izumi was told what happened to her brother all those years ago, she had completely regretted ever coming up with that stupid idea in the first place. Now after seeing this, all those feelings coming back 100 times fold, now seeing just how much damage she truly had done. And All Might, with no better spell, completely hates himself for not being able to recognize what was happening to his son in his day-to-day life. If he had just paid as much attention to him as he did his daughter, and none of this would have happened. Once the memories stopped, all four of them sat in uncomfortable silence. Both Izumi and 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 had streams of hot tears flowing out their eyes, while Katsuki and 𝐀𝐮𝐿 but just sat there with their heads down. Nizu, so is there anything any of you have to say for yourselves? Everyone. Nizu, nothing, I see. Well, never mind that. However, I'm leaning towards dropping all of your acceptances into UA. Wait, Principal Nizu, listen, I am fully aware that what these four have done is inexcusable, but, Aizawa, but what All Might are you actually going to stand there and try to justify what these four have done? For God's sake, this is your own son we're talking about, and most of all, this all started with your own daughter starting and instigating everything that happened to him. And you still haven't answered my question as to why you hid this from us in the first place. I don't know. Some reason, something told me to not share this, but now after seeing your memories, I completely regret it. Aizawa, well, that doesn't really do anything now, 𝐸𝐸. And what about all of you? Are you just going to sit there and say nothing, or are you at least going to try to explain yourselves? Izumi, it was all me. I was afraid that my brother would get killed if he tried to become a hero, so I had this idea where we could intimidate him and hopefully he would just give up. Although he never did, and so we just kept going hoping that he would give up to no avail. Aizawa, eyes glowing. You're saying that you started all of this just because of a reason like that? You're telling me that all four, if you were so stupid that none of you were able to see what you were doing wasn't right at all? Izuku showed us everything. We even saw how he was planning to kill himself the day all of one approached him. I cannot believe that I'm hearing that none of you ever once considered that this would backfire. So tell me, why should we accept any of us heroes? Katsuki, look, we're sorry, we get that what we did was F up, but, Aizawa, no, you don't get it. If you did, then you wouldn't be trying to defend yourself when you have no case. Tell me, do any of you have any? What's the most important for a hero to have? Katsuki. Aizawa, the ability to not just fight evil but also protect those that need saving, and I don't just mean from villains, but to give people encouragement and hope so that they don't succumb to hatred and despair to the many ugly parts of the world. Do you not see that if Izuku Yagi had done exactly that, he would have become a villain? Being a hero mean not just saving someone's life but also their hearts, and it might just be impossible to do that for him now. As soon as 𝐀𝐮𝐿 said that, All Might begin to have a brief memory of his 𝐴𝐵𝐶𝐿 Nana Shimura and the words she spoke a long time ago. Remember that real heroes don't just save lives, they save a person's heart too. And now all the guilt he was feeling had grown even more, realizing that not only did he let his son down but was also dishonoring his MSDR's teachings. Aizawa, all of you tormented an innocent person just because you didn't want to lose him, and because of that very thing almost happened. The only reason he's still alive was because of sheer luck. Every single one of you did the opposite of what heroes are supposed to do, so I'm going to ask all of you one more time, why should we accept any of you as heroes? Katsuki/𝐀𝐮𝐿/Shouka. Izumi, you shouldn't. At least not me. Katsuki/𝐀𝐮𝐿/Shouka, what? Izumi. Izumi, you're right, what we did is unforgettable, but please, if you want to punish anyone, punish me. I was the one who came up with that stupid idea. It's my fault that my brother went through so much pain and is like this now. So just let me take all the blame. I don't deserve to be a hero after all I've done. Shouka, no, Izumi, don't say that I'm as much to blame as you. I should be held accountable as well. 𝐀𝐮𝐿, sis, don't say that it was us three. You never did anything. Shouka, crying, exactly. I never did anything. I wanted us all to stop, but I was too scared to say anything. I just stood there and did nothing. That just as bad. I don't have a right to be here either. But I don't care if I can't be a hero anymore. I hate just how much we broke him, but at the same time I'm just so happy to know he's alive, so I'm willing to accept my fate. Shoto and Katsuki didn't say anything. What could they say? Even they knew deep down that what they did was wrong. As for Principal 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, he took a moment to consider the right course of action. After about a minute he had reached a final conclusion. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, Alright, I've decided that I'm going to give all of you but a chance, so this is what we are going to do. Todoroki, you will be accepted into the hero course in Aizawa's class since your actions weren't as horrendous as the other. However, asked for the rest of you, could you do something you've never done before? We're going to put you 3 on reserve. Everyone. What? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, what I'm saying is that you 3 will be technically part of the hero course. However, instead of participating in normal classes, you will be taking remedial lessons, and occasionally be only observing as the rest of your class is involved in training. The reason for this is just like I said, this is going to be a second chance for all of you. You will have to prove to all of us that you are capable of being heroes, and this will be your opportunity to also repent for your actions. So if you can prove to us that you are worthy of being here and intend to be proper heroes, this is your only chance to do it. If you don't like it, then you can forget about you accepted into UA. Izumi, we understand. Shoto, I suppose that's fair. Katsuki. Yumi, Principal 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, could I add in one addition? 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, and what would that be? Sons, I want all 4 of them to take part in sessions with me. It seems that all of them are going to need match counseling. Make sure they don't end up repeating the same mistakes. I can tell that 2 of them have more problems than the others. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, that doesn't sound half bad. Alright, I'll allow it. Izumi, that's fine with us. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, Shoto, what do you say? Aizawa, I suppose I can't say no to your discussion, but let me make this clear, as of now I don't accept them. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, you're right to feel that way, however I've made my decision. Now Tsuna, please. Artemis. Yagi, Mr. Bakugo and the Todoroki twins out. I wish to speak with All Might alone. Tsuna, I understand now. You 4 come with me. Once the 5 of them had left his office, Principal 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 and Shota had turned their attention to All Might. 𝐻𝐻𝐻, now All Might, are you finally able to answer our questions? What do you want to know? Aizawa, how about you start by explaining how your son has a quirk now? The night that my son was sent away, All for One had told me that he was in possession of a very old and incredibly powerful quirk, and right before he sent Izuku away he released it, and once he did, it had possessed my son. He said that it was actually the second quirk that was brought into existence. He said that it was called 𝐻𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, the second quirk brought into existence. Okay, I'm listening. Continue. He said that this quirk had the power to exist without a host, and that it had the ability to be transferred other people and could keep the quirks of its previous users after they had passed on. And one other thing, he said that he had managed to pass on his own DNA into the power, and it's now possesses All for One. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, what? Yes, I know what you all are thinking. I thought the same thing too when I first heard this, but he was serious. Although why he chose to let it possess my son, I don't know. 𝐻𝐻𝐻, I was expecting a lot of things, but I wasn't prepared to hear this. Shota, what do you think of all? Aizawa, whatever the reason may be, or whatever type of powers this boy now possess, the fact is he still chose to take the exam to be a hero all on his own. He may show no emotion anymore and is clearly still very damaged from his experiences, but I believe that he still might have what it takes to be a hero. Obviously we need to find out more about this from himself, especially what this young quirk may be, but I believe that we should still treat him as any other student at UU. Besides, from all of the memories that he showed us, I think he's more than earned the right to be here without anybody getting in his way. That boy has been through more than his fair share of pain already. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, you really have taken a liking to that boy. Well, alright, it's decided. I guess we'll just have to wait until his first day at UA starts. But wait, if he's in the city, let's go find him. I want to see him again. I want my family to be whole again. Izumi and 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 haven't been the same since he left. My wife even became so depressed that she took early retirement as a hero because she felt so much like a failure for not being able to save our son. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, I'm sorry, All Might, but I don't know where he is. We tried to stop him, but he managed to get away. He said that he was living by himself nowadays and had to go into work. If you want my advice, I suggest you wait just a little bit longer, at least until his first day starts. If you go can find him now and try to bring him back, I believe it will only end badly. He's incredibly strong now. And it goes without question that he most likely hates all three of you, so my suggestion is if you want to try and rebuild your family, I suggest you wait until then. In the meantime, go take your daughter home and let your wife know about this. She deserves to know and to be prepared for when that time comes. Besides, we still need him to tell us everything about this mysterious quirk that he has, and in order for him to do that he must do it willingly. I understand. If you'll excuse me. Once All Might was finished talking with the two of them, he had made his way outside of UA's gates to find his daughter and her friends waiting for him there since they had questions for him. They wanted to know what exactly they were going to do about Izuku and Izumi, and 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 especially wanted to know if they were going to track him down and bring him back. They really wanted to see him again and make amends for everything that they did. Izumi, Dad, what happened? Are you going to go bring Izuku back? Shoka, Mr. Yagi, please tell us what happened. We want to know, is Izuku coming back? 𝐶𝐿, listen all of you, for now UA has decided that we're not going to go find Izuku. We're going to wait until the first semester of UA starts, and when he comes then we intend to try to convince him come back to his family. Shoto, what? Katsuki, what kind of stupid course of action is that? Izumi, what, why? Why can't we go get him now? Please Dad, I miss him so much. Shoka, Mr. Yagi, please. Nizu and Aizawa are both afraid that if we go looking for him now and try to bring him back by force that he might decide to run away again and not pursue his dream of going to you. As all of you are aware, he most certainly harbors massive hatred towards all of us, so if he gives in to that hatred he might choose to abandon his dreams altogether, and personally I don't want to see that. I'm already one of the biggest reasons why he went missing in the first place, and I don't want to crush his dreams again. All four of them didn't know what to say at this point. What could they say? They wanted Izuku to come back, but they knew what All Might was saying was true. This was just one of the many consequences that they have to do with for stupid actions. Ants, by this point Izumi and Shoka had begun tearing up rivers again. They especially wanted to see Izuku again. As for Katsuki and Shoto, they just couldn't make any sense of this, and they doubt they ever could. Katsuki had been tearing himself up from the inside by his emotions, trying to figure out what made him think that stupid idea was good in the first place. And Shoto had become so conflicted that he didn't know what to do. He still wanted to be a hero, but he knew that everything that they had told him was right. What he had done wasn't what a hero is supposed to do. Throughout the years of physical and mental abuse by his father, the number 2 hero, Endeavor, he wasn't sure how to separate right from wrong anymore. Izumi, let's go. It's been a surprising day, and we also need to go and tell your mother about this. Izumi, all right, Dad. Katsuki, All Might, wait. Stop, listen, I'm not going to say anything about 𝐻𝐿𝐴's decision, it's not my place, but that doesn't mean my opinion of you three has changed. If we're being honest, I still don't trust any of you three. None of you have done anything to earn back my trust in you, and I personally agree that you don't belong in you. I'm sorry to say it, but what I've seen, everything you three done to my son, especially you Bakugo, I just can't see you in the heroic light that I once saw you in. After All Might had finished speaking, Izumi had began walking home in order to prepare Inko for the shocking reveal that her son was alive and would be attending UA soon. The three of them were left there speechless and with their heads down in shame, Bakugo especially, but it's not like he didn't understand. He bullied his idol's son and told him to kill himself. Why wouldn't he hate him? He might not have shown it, but deep down he always wanted to be like All Might, but it seems that it might be too late for that now. 30 p.m. at the orphanage. Izuku had made his way back after his meeting with the principal and Shota, and once he got in immediately went to the kitchen and began preparing to make dinner for 20 kids, including himself. Time to cook something later after he got home. During Izuku's time working there, he had gotten a little bit closer to his MSDR's daughter Nozomi. They would have occasionally have little talks, but not about her mother, of course. And it turns out, unlike most of the kids, Nozomi actually did have a quirk. It was called Wind Slicer. She had the power to create small swords out of wind if you concentrated hard enough, although they were more of the size of small daggers rather than swords, and a lot of focus to do it. Although there was another kid that piqued Izuku's interest. It was a young boy about the age of 10. Its name was 𝐶𝐮𝐴 and had a quirk called Lightning Ball. He could create a small orb of lightning that orbited his body and could shoot lightning, although it was incredibly weak. It had turned out that his parents abandoned him for the very reason of having a weak quirk, so Izuku couldn't help but feel a sort of kinship with him. They were so alike. Izuku couldn't help but take an interest in him. 𝗀𝐮 would often stay in the corner by himself not talking to anyone, and no matter how many times Kyoko would try to reach out he always push her away. Even during dinner he would often sit by himself his dinner quietly, not even trying to talk to anyone. Izuku knew exactly what it felt like to not be wanted just because of the way you were born and by your own family, but since his emotions have almost been completely shut down he wasn't sure how he could help. But he came back to the city despite the risk in order to fulfill his dream. Oh, that's what those 3 years of training were for, and helping someone in distress no matter what form it may be is part of being a hero, so he has to at least try. He picked up a plate of curry and took it to where 𝗀𝐮 would normally sit by himself, walked over to him. Izuku, 𝗀𝐮 here, you need to eat. 𝗀𝐮, I'm not hungry. Izuku, I know how you feel. 𝗀𝐮, what? Izuku, I mean I went through the same thing as you. I know what it's like to not be wanted by your own family just because of the way. I live alone nowadays, and that's the reason why I work here, need you guys in order to survive on my own. 𝗀𝐮, why you were abandoned too? Izuku, that's right, but you know one of the other reasons why I'm here is to try and help people like you, people like me, who went through the same pain that I did. My face doesn't show any emotion anymore, and that was because of all the painful hardships that I had to endure, and so it left many emotional scars on me. But the reason why I'm here, in a short time I'm going to be attending the most prestigious hero school in the country, and part of being a hero helping others when they need it the most. So please 𝗀𝐮, if you're willing, will you let me try and help you? 𝗀𝐮 was shocked to hear this. In the few months that Izuku has been working here he's gone a few glimpses ask him training his quirk, and aside from how scary it also looked incredibly strong. So the fact that Izuku had gone through the same thing as him was shocking to say the least. Before he could answer, Izuku would ask him one final question that shocked him the most. Izuku, 𝗀𝐮, tell me, what do you want? Have you ever thought of what you wanted to be when you grow up? He wasn't prepared to be asked a question like that, since you never thought anyone would ever ask him what he wanted. He took a moment and looked at Izuku for giving his answer. 𝗀𝐮, I Izuku, yes. 𝗀𝐮, I want to be a hero. Izuku, really? 𝗀𝐮, yeah, but whenever I tell people that, they laugh at me and say that I can't do it because my quirk is so weak and that I should give up. For some reason Izuku had a feeling that that would be his answer, and even though his face couldn't show it he was glad that that's what his answer was. After taking a minute observing 𝗀𝐮, he if for some reason had an urge help with this boy since they were so much alike, but also because he saw something in him kind of spark that remind him of himself when he was that age, and with a blank expression he had decided to ask 𝗀𝐮 a question. Izuku, 𝗀𝐮, would you like me to help you? 𝗀𝐮, what? Izuku, I'm asking, would you like me to help you? I could help train your quirk and help you pursue your dream of being a hero. 𝗀𝐮, wait, are you saying you think I can? Izuku, yes, I do believe that you too can become a hero. However, just so you know, if you say yes, the training I'm going to put you through will be incredibly hard and I won't go easy on you. So, but before Izuku could finish, 𝗀𝐮 had started tearing up and then charged right at him and brought him into a hug. Had been waiting for a long time for someone to believe in him that the waterworks instantly came, and in that moment always you could think was, oh yeah, we're so much alike. A month later it was 6:30 in the morning and Izuku was up and ready to begin his first day at UA, although he knew that most likely his sister and her friends would be there, not to mention All Might. He also knew that the principal and other teachers would most likely still has many questions for him when he got there, and so he had came up with an idea to help suppress all of those negative emotions that Yang would try to exploit from him, so he would go berserk when he would come across his family and former friends. The last thing he wanted was to ever see them again, but he knew that if you stayed on the path to being a hero that this was inevitable. He also didn't want anybody else to see him in a malicious state. So 2 years ago he had created something to help stop him if Yang were to ever take control over him. It was in 𝗂𝐻𝐼 iron black electronic choker designed to choke the person wearing it if they were to ever go on a rampage. His emister wasn't too happy that he created a device to hurt himself, but that was just the only way he knew how to handle things. Izuku had become so used to pain that he doesn't mind inflicting it on himself if it meant he can try and maintain himself. His emister didn't like it one bit because pain isn't something that you should be used to, but because of his past that was now Izuku's mindset. Izuku, I promised emister that I wouldn't wear this unless it was absolutely necessary, But if those scumbags really are going to be there, then I can't trust myself to stay in control forever. Izuku took a deep breath and closed the door on him and began to walk out his front door. As soon as he stepped out, he began walking to the train station, for today would be his first day and his first step into becoming a hero. Izuku, 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, here I come. It was 6:30 a.m. and Izuku was on the train making his way to UA High. It was only a 20-minute ride from where he lived. He wanted to get there first, just in case he was going to be called in again, since he was sure that they still had many questions for him. In the Yagi residence, the Yagi family were having a quiet breakfast. It was Izumi's first day of remedial lessons, since she needs to prove she belongs in the hero course, so it was exactly how she expected going to her dream school. Toshinori wasn't too excited about anything either. He was happy that Izumi was accepted into UA even if it was under unordinary circumstances, but what he was thinking about the most is that he was going to see his son after all these years. Though he wasn't sure what he would say if this day ever came, so much time has passed that he was starting to doubt that it ever would have. Now that it's here, he wasn't sure just what to say when he sees him. There are so many things that he has to make up for, but how to do so he doesn't know. Would Izuku even let him? He doesn't know. After he saw Aizawa's and Nizu's memories, Toshi had come to the conclusion that Izuku had changed a lot and not for the better. He has no idea just what his son had been doing all this time, but he was afraid that he might have succumbed to the influence, the Wanji power, but he was more afraid of the fact that Izuku also possesses All for One. He doesn't want to believe it, but there's no way to know what Izuku has done with it in their last 3 years. He was scared that Izuku might end up becoming like All for One, since he knows had he used his power, Izuku might have come back and taken the entrance exam, but he can't stop worrying until he knows that his son won't turn out the same way his greatest enemy did. But the one who was the most distressed was Inko, because after all this time had passed, she had come to the conclusion that she was the one who first turned her back on Izuku. The day that they had come back from the doctors, it was clear that Izuku was devastated after the bad news and needed his mother right then and there, but she was so focused on Izumi and her quirk that she completely forgotten about her son and continued to do so for 7 long years. Izuku had suffered so much, and even though she was right there, she didn't even notice. She had failed as a mother from the time he was 4. There are hardly any memories for them as a family. All she wants is to have her baby back and redeem herself. She had decided to take early retirement because she felt that she was no longer worthy to be a hero and wanted to devote her time into finding her son, and now that he has finally been found, she had been preparing for this day to finally see him again, to hopefully bring him back home and make up for everything. Izumi, okay mom, dad, I'm heading out. Toshi, okay, Izumi will be there soon too. Inko, Izumi. Izumi, yeah mom. Inko, good luck sweetie. Izumi, small smile, thanks mom. After that, Izumi had went out the door and was heading her way to the train station. While Toshi and Inko had seen her off, Toshi had to begin preparing for his first day as a new teacher. While Inko had one thing on her mind. Inko, Toshi, Inko, he should be here too. Toshi, I know you're right, but we have to focus on the here and now. Today we'll finally see him again and we'll bring him home and make up for everything. Inko, I hope you're right. As they both began to ready themselves for possibility tough day, they were going to have Izumi had meet up with her friends at the train station. They all wanted to make the most of their first day, despite 3 of them wouldn't be participating in the arrow course for a little while. Shoka, Izumi, over here. Izumi, hey everyone, good morning. Shoto, good morning. Katsuki, Tisich, it's about damn time. Shoka, so let's get going, we can't be late for the first day of class. Katsuki, I think you mean you can't be late, we won't be with you, remember. Shoto, we still shouldn't be late, we still have a chance to show them we belong in the hero course. Izumi, Shoto's right, come on guys, it's not ideal but it is our own fault we're in this mess. Let's at least be grateful they're giving us a chance. Shoto, why yeah you're right. Katsuki, teach whatever. Shoka, so, let's get going. The 4 of them had made their way to the station, and once the train arrived began their journey towards UA. It was now 7 a.m. and they were 40 minutes away, so they could still make it before 8 a.m. 3 of them weren't all that excited about the first day of remedial classes but decided to SCK it up and accept their fate. Shoka wasn't too happy either, since she didn't want to start her first day without her brother and 2 friends. Although the one silver lining she thought was soon she'll be seeing Izuku again, and for the rest of the trip she had kept on asking herself just one question: I hope he can find it in his heart to forgive us. At UA High School, Izuku had finally made it to UA. He took a moment to take in that he was actually going about to get into his dream school as a full-fledged student. He started to walk inside and began searching for his classroom. After 5 minutes he had found class 1A, and the first thing he noticed was the size of the door, but since some mutation quirk sometimes alters the size of someone, he understood why they'd be so huge. He then walked in, and just as he was hoping for, he was the first one to arrive. There was still 40 minutes until class would start, so he had decided to just take a seat and pull out a book to read in the meantime while he waited for everyone to arrive. After about 10 minutes, Izuku noticed the first of other students has arrived. He didn't take his eyes off his book but knew that it was the blue-haired boy that had set him off during the exam. He then began to make his way toward Izuku and began to speak. He didn't feel like talking to anyone, but he had to at least act polite if he wants to make it at UA. Excuse me. Izuku, yeah. You're the one from exam, the one who completely demolished that zero-pointer and saved that brown-haired girl. Izuku, yeah, what about it? My name is 𝐻𝐮𝐬𝐸𝐸. I want to apologize for my behavior during the exam. Izuku, fine, I'm over it. Ida, may I ask your name? Izuku, Ida, Izuku, what exactly? Izuku, it's just Izuku, I have no surname. Ida, that's strange, may I ask why that is? Izuku, personal reasons. Ida, I understand, but anyways I must say, Izuku, you were outstanding. You figured out that there was something more to the practice exam. I hate to say it, but you're better than I am. At this, Izuku was at a loss for words. He really wasn't expecting to be praised by this guy or by anyone, especially not on his first day of school, but had decided to just take the compliment. Izuku, it was nothing, I just did the right thing to do. Ida, yes, you're right. As they were talking, another student came into the classroom. It was an onyx black-haired girl in a ponytail. She noticed the two of them, and after a moment she recognized that the boy reading a book was the same one who she saw save a little girl a month ago. Ida turned around and began to walk towards her and started to introduce himself. Ida, hello, I'm 𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐸. Hello. Izuku didn't bother to look up, he just wanted to keep to himself and be left alone, but it looked like that wasn't going to happen since he noticed that the girl was also now walking up to him. Excuse me. Izuku, yes, can I help you? Momo, my name is Momo Yaoyorozu, can ask your name? Izuku, I'm Izuku. Momo, Izuku what? Izuku, it's just Izuku, I don't have a last name. Momo, oh I see. Anyway, this may be sudden, but can I ask you something? Izuku, I'm okay I guess. Momo, did you happen to save a little girl from a steel beam about a month ago? Ida, wait, you saved a child? Izuku. Izuku, oh yeah, that was me. How did you know about that though? Momo, I was walking around that area when I happened to saw what you did. I must say it was very heroic. Ida, wow, you're even more impressive than I thought. Izuku, it wasn't anything really. Momo, no it was, you saved a life. I can see why you'd be accepted into the hero course. It was happening again. Izuku was getting praised by a complete stranger. It wasn't something he was used to, especially not from a girl as appealing as the one in front of him. He may have lost the ability to show any positive emotion, but he was still a guy, and still found women like her attractive, though this was the first time he's had any interaction with a girl his age since. The only female interactions he's had in the last 3 years was his MSTR and Kyoko. Momo, may I ask what you're reading? Izuku, it called Great Expectations. Momo, by Charles Dickens, that's a great classic, it's one of my favorites. Izuku, oh well, good to know. Momo, well, I'm going to my desk, I hope we can get along. As she went to her desk, Ida soon followed and sat in his seat. Izuku really wasn't expecting any of what just happened but decided to just go back to reading. After that, one after another more students began walking into class. Some were taking among themselves and a few we just sitting quietly. Only 10 minutes left until class started and there were still 6 sets left empty, but just then Izuku had felt a familiar presence approaching classroom. The door opened and without looking Izuku could tell that it was Shouka Todoroki. Even though he knew that this was inevitable, he still struggled to not show his anger of being in the same room as one of his tormentors. The electronic choker around Izuku's neck immediately noticed that change in his emotion and began to tighten around his neck. It wasn't pleasant at all, but Izuku was right on the money when he thought that he couldn't completely trust himself to control his anger. Even though it was irritating him, he managed to keep his poker face on and just kept focusing on his book in order to calm himself down. As for Shoka, she had instantly saw Izuku and her heart began to race. So many feelings started come up: shock, guilt, regret, relief. Even though she knew that today would be the day that she'd see him again, she still wasn't fully prepared for this. She still had so much guilt inside her heart for what she had done to Izuku, but couldn't help but feel happy that the boy she loved was actually in front of her again. She was starting in front of the door too long and the other students were starting to stare. She was about to walk toward Izuku, but before she could, a short brown-haired girl walked in and started shouting with excitement and ran towards him before she could. "Hey, it's you, the black-hair boy." "Izuku." "Hi, don't you remember me?" "Izuku, no I do, you're the girl from the exam with the gravity quirk." "Yeah, that's me. 𝐴𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐻, I wanted to say thank you for saving me. The way you destroyed that zero-pointer and landed on your feet after jumping so high was amazing." "Izuku, don't mention it, I just did the right thing." "𝐻𝐼𝐻, still I have to thank you. Probably I hope we can be great friends." Shoka was watching closely and had this uneasy feeling in the pit of her stomach, as the sight of Izuku being that close with another girl filled her with jealousy, and she didn't like the feeling. Not just because it was Izuku, but also she unconsciously believes that because she did nothing to help him back when he needed it, that she doesn't have the right to feel that way. But before she could think about it any further, a voice came out from behind her who she recognized. "Aizawa, if you're here to make friends, then leave now." "𝐻𝐼𝐻, wow, what is that yellow thing?" "Ida, is someone inside that?" "Aizawa, it took 8 seconds for all of you to shut up, that won't work, time is precious." "𝐴𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐻, Aizawa, your homeroom teacher." "Everyone, our teacher Aizawa." "All right, tells get to it, put these on and head outside." Everyone began to make their way towards the changing rooms. In the boys, most of them were conversing between themselves. As for Izuku, he was almost done changing, but before he could put on the top part of his uniform, a red spiky-haired boy pointed to Izuku and caught everyone's attention. "Wow dude, what's with all those scars?" Everyone looked in Izuku's direction and they all gasped at the sight of his body. Aside from the fact that he was completely shredded, there were permitted scars, bruise, burn marks all over his body. They also noted that his left arm was almost completely covered in scars that were clearly from him cutting himself, but as for his other arm was wrapped in bandages. Izuku didn't pay them any mind and just finished changing and headed out to where Mr. Aizawa was waiting for them. After 10 minutes, everyone had made their way to the testing area. "Aizawa, good, now you're all going to have a quirk assessment test." "𝐻𝐼𝐻, a quirk assessment test? What about the orientation ceremony?" "Aizawa, if you really want to make the big leagues, you can't waste time on pointless ceremonies. Here at UA we're not teachers of traditions, meaning I get to run my class however I want." "Been taking standardized tests most of your lives but never got to use your quirks in physical exams before. The country's still trying to pretend we're all equal by not letting those with the most power excel. It's not rational. Izuku, you managed to get the top spot on the entrance exam despite the fact that you were already on recommendation. What was your farthest distance throw with the softball when you were in junior high?" "Izuku, 68 meters. "Aizawa, right? Try doing it with your quirk. Anything goes as long as you stay in the circle. Go on, you're wasting time." "Ida, wait, did Mr. Aizawa say that Izuku was on recommendation?" "Momo, I had heard that there was a person among the recommended students that decided to still take the regular exam, so he was the one, but I wonder why he did it. I wonder what his quirk is. Why do you think his right arm is bandaged?" Izuku had decided to not use his dark enhancement and just uses his chi. He raised his ken to its max and threw the ball. Aizawa knew that as Izuku didn't activate his quirk but decided to wait until the exam was over to call him out on it. Although the score on his phone shocked him since he didn't know he was that strong without using his power, he showed his phone to the entire class and it read, "Everyone, 1,100 meters. Shoka, how is this possible? Izuku is supposed to be quirkless. Just what has happened to you, Izuku? I want to go. That looks like so much fun." "Aizawa, so this looks fun, huh? You have 3 years here to become pro heroes. You think it'll be all fun and games? Idiots. Today you'll complete an 8 physical test to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last place will be expelled immediately. Izuku, I can tell he's serious. Uraraka, you can't send one of us home. We all just got here, that isn't fair, Aizawa. Oh, and you think national disasters are? Or what about power-hungry villains or catastrophic accidents that wiped out whole cities? This world is full of unfairness. It's a hero's job to combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're gonna have to push yourself the breaking point for the next 3 years. UA will throw one trouble hardship after another at you. Have to go beyond. Plus ultra. Now we're just wasting time by talking. Let's begin the next test. Test 1. 50-meter dash. Izuku and 𝐬𝐬𝐷 took their places as Aizawa was preparing for them to go. 𝐬𝐬𝐷. Sorry Izuku, but I'll be winning. Aizawa. Runners, on your marks, go. Izuku had channeled all of his chi into his legs before the race started. The two ran and Izuku finished first with 2.0 seconds and 𝐬𝐬𝐷 with 4.1 seconds. Aizawa. He still isn't using his quirk, why? Test 2. Grip strength. Izuku looked over to see a guy with multiple arms doing his grip test and got 540 kilograms. You hit 540 kilograms? You're such a beast. Yeah, like an octopus. Izuku uses his chi but didn't use 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 to not overdo it. However, it didn't really matter since he still broke the grip tester. This got everyone's attention and saw that the only thing that remained was barely the handle. Izuku. Sorry, Mr. Aizawa. Aizawa, it's fine, this type of thing is bound to happen. Jez, how strong is he? Test 3. Standing long jump. Izuku got the highest score by going over the other side and almost hit the fence. The one with second highest score was a frog-looking girl. Test 4. Repeated side steps. Izuku once again got the highest score, with the only one behind him was a boy with purple ball on his head. Test 5. Ball throw. Izuku did go since he already did with the demonstration from earlier. Uraraka got the first place with a score of infinity. That's insane, how's possible? Aizawa. Okay, before I go over the score, I want to go over something with you. Izuku. Mind explaining why you didn't use your quirks in any of the test? Everyone. What? Izuku. Oh, so you noticed. Everyone. He's not even phased. Izuku. Okay, you got me. I was worried about what force I'd make. And what that could have done to everyone here. Aizawa. Scowling. Well, if you don't want to be expelled, then I'm going to give you one final chance. Throw this ball again, but this time using your quirk at full power. Go beyond plus ultra. That's what this school is all about. I don't want anything less from you. Izuku. Fine. Izuku grabbed the ball, then got in the circle again and positioned himself. He took a deep breath and began to use his ken, then activated dark enhancement all the way up to 25% and combined the two. This made the invisible aura of his chi visible to everybody, and they were shocked to see this. He had to hold back in order to control himself because, unaware to everyone else, he sensed two very familiar presences hiding behind the school's walls. It was All Might and Green Esperance, and now that those two were around had made him agitated, but he couldn't let anyone else see that. As the class saw him and the thing, they realized that Aizawa was telling the truth, that he hadn't used his quirk at all, but what shocked them more was the amount of power that they were seeing coming from him. Some of them were a little scared to see that the energy around him was so black and it looked so intimidating. Izuku then threw the ball, and the shock wave that came from him was great enough that everyone else had fallen back about 5 feet. Aizawa looked at his phone, and what he seemed shocked him even more than the first score is Izuku got, and everyone followed suit after he showed his score to the entire class. Everyone. What? 2,000 miles. Izuku turned to Aizawa with a blank expression and spoke in a bored tone and said, well, how's that? Aizawa, smiling, this kid. Momo, he's even stronger than I thought. Uraraka, he's amazing. 𝐬𝐷𝐷, he keeps impressing me more and more. Shoka, Izuku just what have been up to all this time. Aizawa, okay, now here all of you, here are your scores. Izuku, first Momo Yaoyorozu, second Shoka Todoroki, third Mineta, last Mineta. No, I can't get expelled, I almost died during the entrance exam. Aizawa, oh, I was lying, no one's going home. That was just a way to make sure you all gave it your all. Momo, I'm surprised the rest of you didn't figure it out. I suppose I should have said something. Izuku, Mr. Aizawa, didn't you expel an entire class last year? Momo, sweet drop W. Aizawa, I'm surprised you know that you're smarter than I thought. Alright, all of you are free to go home except you Izuku. I want to see you after you're done changing. Izuku. But before Izuku could make his way to the locker room, he was approached by a guy with a crow's head. 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐵. Excuse me, my name is 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐵. Can I ask you a question? Izuku, what is it? 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐵, your quirk intrigues me. Could you tell me what exactly it is? Izuku decided to just show him so he can get to the locker rooms as quick as possible. He held out his right hand and black energy started to swirl around it, which caught 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐵's attention even more. Izuku, I use darkness. 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐵, interesting. Could you tell me what's your quirk is called? Izuku, it's called 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐵. 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐵, young. But wait, doesn't that mean light? Izuku, yes, but I didn't come up with the name. There's a reason why it's called that, but I don't feel like going into details. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go change. After the whole class had gone back to change, Izuku had finished first as to not waste time, since he knew why Aizawa wanted to see him and was worried he would be late for work again. So he had texted Kyoko and explained the situation. Luckily she understood, since she also knew about his past. After he got out of the locker room, he saw Aizawa waiting for him. Aizawa, so you're ready? We're heading to 𝐻𝐻𝐬𝐻's office. Izuku, yeah, let's get this over with. Aizawa, I trust you know why you're being called in. Izuku, you still have questions, don't right? Aizawa, good, you understand, and I'm not supposed to say anything, but there's going to be others waiting to see you. Izuku, I already know, I sensed them outside. Aizawa was shocked to hear this, but he didn't say anything and kept his composure, but Izuku knew he couldn't hide anything from him. They had met at 𝐻𝐻's office and walked in. He didn't see All Might or G and instead saw a 𝐻𝐻 and a navy blue-haired woman standing beside his desk who looked familiar. 𝐻𝐻, Izuku, good to see you again. Please have a set. Izuku, and who is this? 𝐻𝐻, yes, let me introduce you. This is Yumi Tsuna, or better known as the mind-reading hero, 𝐴𝐻, and UA's best counselor. Izuku, Tsuna. I know them. They're a family of heroes that specializes in counseling and therapy for the most mentally damaged. They also help as detectives for the most difficult crimes the police can't solve on their own. Now that I think about it, one of Yang's previous vessels was at Tsuna. Yumi, hello there, it's nice to meet you, Izuku Yagi. Izuku, it's just Izuku. 𝐻𝐻, yes, about that we called you in here because we still have questions for you. First, tell us about this power of yours. Izuku, from what I learned, this power has its own consciousness and it can live without a host for it. Also, after any of its previous users have passed, it's capable of holding on to their quirks they had before their deaths, and in doing so allows me to have access to all their powers as well. 𝐻𝐻, so it's true. What All Might, what else is there? Izuku, it has the side effect of increasing the powers of every quirk it has obtained but changes them to darker versions of them. However, it also makes the drawbacks to each powers much more severe than normal. It also has the ability to copy other quirks if it consumes enough DNA. For example, let's say I made a BLD pact with Mr. Aizawa and we shaked on it, I would gain his quirk, but the drawback would be worse than the original quirk. 𝐻𝐻, my god, that is more powerful than I thought. Could you tell us what different kind of drawback it would be? Izuku, I can't really say because it doesn't depend on me. But an example I could give is that it could lead to me losing my eyesight if I had Aizawa's quirk. Yumi, Jesus, just what kind of power is this? 𝐻𝐻, well, this is more shocking than I thought, but aside from that, what exactly were you doing the 3 years you were gone? Izuku, I thought I said I wouldn't say anything more than what I told you. I was taken in by Flash Princess and I'm not saying anything more. 𝐻𝐻, that won't do. We still have no idea what you were doing and that could be vital information. Izuku, if you want to know, then ask my 𝐻𝐻. She gave me strict orders no to reveal anything unless you ask her yourself. She knew something like this would happen if I came back to my home city, so if you really want to know, you have to go ask her. 𝐻𝐻, so you call her 𝐻𝐻. Well, unfortunately she is still on a mission and we have no idea when she will return. So I'm asking you to tell us all the details about what you have been up to. Izuku, well, I'm not talking. I won't go against my MSDR's orders. 𝐻𝐻, alright then, in that case 𝐴𝐻, read his mind. Yumi, understood 𝐻𝐻. 𝐴𝐻 began to activate her quirk to get information out of Izuku's mind, but unfortunately for her she couldn't, since Yang's power was so great it immediately casted a mental shield around Izuku's mind. Yang doesn't like to be tested. Yumi, what? How is this possible? Aizawa, what's wrong, tell it. Yumi, I can't read his mind. Nizu, what have you done? Izuku, I didn't do anything, it was YG, like I said, it has its own mind and so its own well, so it doesn't want you to know anything either. But I give you a bit of compensation. Aizawa, what do you mean? Izuku, I can't give you details, but I'll tell you that I spent the last 3 years trying to control this power. During that time me and Yang came to an agreement. It will allow me to use its power whenever I want, but it will still try and corrupt me if I let my guard down. Nizu, and just what do you mean by corrupt? Izuku, sorry but that I can't say either. Any other questions? Nizu, what happened to your appearance? Izuku, apparently Yang's power is so great that it changed the color of my hair and eyes to soiled black. Nizu, why didn't Flash Princess beam you back? Izuku, I can't answer that. Nizu, alright, last 2 questions. How many quirk do you have now and what do you know about the other quirk we know you have? All for one. Izuku, I had 10 quirks when I started and I've gained 5 more over the past 3 years. As for all for one, I know that it can steal quirks, but I don't know anything else about it. I only used it 3 times. The other quirks I gained were from using Yang, but I didn't use it on any innocent people, if you were wondering. Nizu, alright, I suppose that's the end of our question. No, before we decide what to do next, I think it's time. Raised voice, you can come in now. The door then opened to reveal the ones waiting outside. Izuku knew they were there but still dreaded that this reunion had finally came. It was Green Espress and the person he hated most even more, that his sister and childhood friend, All Might. He got up and slowly turned around and saw their face. All Might had a look of both surprised and guilt written all over his face. And as for Inko, she had tears in her eyes and red puffy eyes as if she had been crying all the time they were outside. Inko, Izuku. SS, that really? Izuku, hello you too. Izuku, my boy. Izuku was trying harder than ever before to control his anger but was struggling. Inko then ran up to him and brought him into a hug and started rambling. Inko, my baby, you're really here. We're so sorry for everything, ignoring you, not realizing what was happening in your life, not protecting you when you needed us, everything. Izuku couldn't take this anymore. He didn't want this. He hated this. He knows that it's not right for a hero to hold on to all this anger, but he couldn't help it. He couldn't forgive them. He still hated them. He then lost it and pushed her off him. Izuku, get the hell of me. Inko, Izuku. Izuku, I don't want to hear this. I didn't want your apologies. You really expect me to forget you after all this time? Do. Izuku, please, we know what we have done is inexcusable, but please, we're asking you to give us another chance. We've missed you so much. Nothing has been the same since you left us. Izuku, growling you. I hate you more than anyone else. Izuku. Izuku, you have caused me the most pain out of everyone. So many times I try and going to you for help or just to spend time with you, but all you could ever think of was my worthless excuse of a sister. And if it wasn't that you just threw yourself into your work and just brush me aside whenever I try to talk to you. So many years hoping someone would help me and it never came, not even from my own family. So tell me, why should I give the 2 of you any sort of chance? Inko, please my baby, I know we have been poor excuses for parents, but please, we want to make it up to you. We want us to be family again. Izuku, you really don't get it, do you? We were never a family. Family doesn't do what you have done. When I was diagnosed quirkless, I needed both of you more than ever. I needed you to comfort me since I was so devastated when I heard the news, and what did you do? You just forgot about me. Let me ask you, All Might, do you know what I was doing in that house the day I found out about your secret? Izuku, please, not in front of Yumi/Aizawa. We already know about one of all. Okay, why were you there, Izuku? Izuku, I was going to ask you as my dad if a quirkless person like me could still be a hero. This struck All Might's heart even harder than the day that he found out what was happening to his son 3 years ago. At this point he also started to tear up. It seems that more and more things keep happening to make him feel even more guilty. Izuku, but after hearing what you said about me, I realized that I couldn't count on anyone. But if that wasn't enough, I learned that you were born the same as me and you still ignored me. So what were things different for you when you were quirkless? No, I dealt with the same things as you and I'm sore, Izuku. So why didn't you notice anything? Was gaining a quirk and becoming the #1 hero made you forget how you started? I guess you're just like every other person who started at the bottom and forget your roots. I don't know how gave you your power, but I bet if they saw you now they'd regret their decision. This was the first time that All Might and 𝐻𝐿 saw Izuku so angry. They saw that his eyes were burning with hatred for them, but they couldn't say anything. Everything he was saying was true. All Might had listened to everything his son said, and the realizations was real. He knew just what it was like to grow up quirkless, but still hadn't noticed what was happening to Izuku. He was his hero, but back then what he really needed was his father. It was clear that all this hatred had been growing inside him for a very long time, and he had every right to feel that way towards them. His heart was filled with so much anger and resentment that seeing it firsthand had really shown just how much All Might had failed as a father. If his 𝐻𝐿 would be turning in her grave if she saw him now. Izuku, you're right, I had forgotten where I started. I should have been there for you, but I just ignored you and focused all my attention on Izumi. If there was a way to change the past I would, but I can't. Please give us a chance to make things right in the present. Izuku, I'm sorry too. I realized that the day we went to the doctors that you needed us right then and there, but I couldn't see that and neglected you for so long. After we lost you, I constantly thought about that day and how much I wish I could have just held and comfort you when you needed it. Please believe us. Izuku, 𝐬𝐿, I'm sure you already know that I can tell when someone's lying, so I know you mean everything you just said. 𝐻𝐿/m. Then you'll, Izuku, but that doesn't change anything. I still don't forgive you. I can't trust you not to do the same again in the future. I've released that if even your own family turns their backs on you just for being born different, and even if one understand that kind of pain you've been through, you can't trust anyone. I waited so long for you to be there for me that I eventually lost faith in you. Just so you know, if you make a person wait too long for something, eventually they stop wanting it. Izuku had calmed himself a little, since unaware to anyone the choker around his neck had been tightening so much that he was almost on the verge of not being able to breathe. Izuku then turned around and faced his teacher and principal. Izuku, can I leave? No. I've had enough of being near these two. I also don't want to be any later for work than I already am. What? No, Izuku, please, we want you to come home. Nizu, no, hold on, all of you. Like I mentioned before, we had come to a decision. Shota, Yumi, what do you think? Aizawa, I think that he should be here. It's clear that he has many emotional problems, but we've seen everything and it's clear that he has the right to feel the way he does. And even though he doesn't want anything from his good-for-nothing parents, I'm willing to help and guide him. He could have become a villain if he wanted to, and if we don't give him a chance, that might just happen. I've seen what he can do, and I believe that he has the most potential out of all my students. Yumi, I agree. As a counselor and a hero, I can't just leave this child alone. Nizu, well, that settles it. We are all in agreement. Izuku stays. I still wish to know exactly what you for up to these past 3 years, but I guess we'll just have to wait until we can get a hold of Flash Princess and ask her instead. Izuku, you may go. Izuku bowed. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. All Might and 𝐻𝐿 both stood in front of the door to stop their son from leaving. Izuku didn't like this, and his anger started to flare up again. Wait, Izuku, don't go, please. Come back home. Izuku, get out of my way, I have a job to get to. 𝐻𝐿, Izuku, please, you don't have to worry about working. If you come home, please, you could just focus on your dreams. Izuku, since when have you cared about my dreams? You really don't get it, do? I don't want to be around you. I can't stand being near you now. I'm going to say this one more time. Get out of my way. 𝐻𝐿, no, Izuku, I'm sorry, but I don't want to lose you again. Please let us. But Izuku didn't let her finish. Instead, he activated his malicious chi and aimed it towards his parents. The both of them couldn't understand what this intense pressure and malice was, but it made them step back and clear a path for him. Izuku was sad beyond belief seeing both of them again, but he couldn't risk using chi that could kill them then, and did his best to control his malice. Once the door was clear, he slowly made his way out, since he was sure by now that they wouldn't stop him. All Might was taken aback by what had just happened, but regained his composure and was about to go into his buff mode to catch up to Izuku, but he couldn't. 𝐻𝐿 had activated his quirk and stopped him from transforming. Aizawa, what are you doing? Aizawa, do the two of you really not get it? Right now isn't the time to force him to go with you. That's only going to make things worse. If the two of you really want him to forgive you, then you're gonna have to earn his forgiveness, but more importantly his love back, and that kind of thing takes time. If he wants to forgive you, then it has to be his choice. Believe it or not, you're not what he needs right now. Nizu, you really have taken a liking to that young man 𝐀𝐮𝐿. It's surprising. The #1 and former hero both lowered their heads in shame. This wasn't how they hoped this would go, but no matter what, they wouldn't give up on their son. They won't leave him alone again. Izuku had made his way out of the building and was making his way towards the train station. He was still livid and just wanted to be left alone until he got to his job. But unfortunately for him, he still had one last encounter to deal with that was waiting for him in front of the entrance. It was his sister and his childhood friends. This was the last thing he wanted to deal with after seeing his parents. He was already afraid of what he could have done if he hadn't controlled himself back in the principal's office, and this was really testing his patience. All 4 of them stood at the entrance as if they were waiting for him, and once they saw him they had the same expressions on their faces as All Might and Inko had. Once Izumi saw him, she ran up to him, crying, "Izumi, Izuku." But before she could throw herself at him to give him a hug, she had pushed her aside, causing her to hit the ground as he looked down on her with the same hateful eyes he gave his parents. He didn't say anything, but she could tell by the look he gave her that he was anything but happy to see her again. He then slowly began to walk away, but then Katsuki walked towards him and grabbed his collar. "Katsuki, hey Deku, hold it right." But before he could finish, Izuku swiftly landed a kick to his gut which pushed him about 10 feet, almost reaching the entrance to you. Then 𝐀𝐮𝐿 was about to stop him since seeing him push Izumi had made him mad, but before he could grab him, Izuku caught his arm and landed a punch to his stomach which caused him to fall to his knees and cough a bit of blood up. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 didn't know what to make of what was happening and just stood there with tears in her eyes, both from seeing Izuku again but also from fear from seeing how angry he was to see all of them again. Izuku once again started to walk away and towards the train station, but Katsuki once again attempted to stop him. Like before anyone could do anything else, he activated his chi, this time much stronger than what he used on his parents, since he didn't have the patience for this anymore and all of them couldn't take it. They all started to feel as some type of invisible pressure had began to crush them and started to feel great fear and even greater pain. But before it could really hurt them, his choker had kicked in and began choking him severely in order to calm his anger down. He then stopped releasing his chi and began to cough severely while trying to calm down in order to breathe again. He then regained his composure and started walking towards the train station while his sister and 𝐀𝐮𝐿 both laid there on the floor with tears in their eyes, and the other 2 just stood there trying to grasp what had just happened. Izuku had made his way to the station and had gotten on the train and started heading to the orphanage. He was 30 minutes away and he was sure that the kids were getting hungry by now but couldn't do anything about it since he was called in. So he had just decided to set an alarm on his phone for 20 minutes and take a nap so he would still have time to get off at his stop. As he was directing off to sleep, he had this thought in his head as he was still very agitated from the advance that had transpired today, and all he could think was, why did it have to come to this? As he has this thought, he began to have dreams of a certain conversation he had with his 𝐴𝐻𝐿 a while back. Izuku's dream. Izuku, I wanted to know something. Why is my power called yang and your power is called yin? Doesn't yin usually mean darkness and yang means a light? Cory, so you noticed that? Yeah, there a good reason for that. You see, the reason why they're called that is because the name isn't meant to represent the power but the person the power chooses. Izuku, what does that mean? Cory, you see, the darkness power chooses those who once had pure hearts and makes them see what true darkness is and desires to see exactly what that person will choose to do once they know what true darkness is. As for the power of light, it goes and finds people that have had tainted hearts already and tries to reform them and attempts to make them see the errors of their ways. I told you once that I used to work in less than legal activities before I became a hero, right? Izuku, yeah, I remember that. Does that mean what you did before was truly horrible? Cory, yes, you see, I used to be an assassin for the Japanese government. I started out very young, only at the age of 14, since I was originally from a family of swordsmen that used to prioritize following the old traditions of our ancestors since feudal era. My family was very traditional and had high respect for the old days. However, once quirks were brought into the world, our skills were seen as insignificant, but once we started to develop quirks of our own, we then began working for the government, aching on the jobs that most heroes would see as immoral, as samurais are normally not afraid from drawing blood if necessary. However, after I hit 21, I began realizing just how meaningless all that blood shed and fighting was. I had always felt from all the lives I took and soon started to realize that I have caused even more pain to others such as their friends and families. So I believe that's why 𝐻𝐮 chose me as its new welder. Izuku, wow, I didn't know you had such a painful past. Kaori, that's also the reason why I didn't take the number 2 spot. Someone like me doesn't have the right to stand in the top 2, so I've decided to just stick with being number. I may now be seen as a hero by most of the general public, but for me I know that I could never fully make up for all the sins I've made. I'm walking this path now in order to find redemption, but as of now I still don't feel as I deserve the title of hero. Izuku, 𝐻𝗧𝗟𝗘. Kaori. However, I came to realize something, that even I'm able to see that thirst entirely too much hate in this world of ours. Izuku, there's too much hate. Kaori, I've always wanted to do something about all this hatred, but I'm just not sure how to go about it as of yet, although I still believe that eventually the day will come when everyone will be able to understand each other and live in harmony. Izuku, you really believe that? Kaori, I do, but if I can't find the solution, then maybe I'll trust to you to continue my mission instead. Izuku. Izuku, well, I can't turn down a request from my institute. Kaori, well, that's good to hear. But going back to what I said before about our powers. That wasn't the entire explanation. There's also one more reason for why our quirks have their names. End of Izuku's dream, but before his dream could continue, his alarm had gone off and woken him up, and just in time to it turned out the train had gone express and he was right in front of his stop. He had gone up and quickly made his way out of the train. He then walked out of the station and was now walking towards the orphanage. As he was now in view of it and saw that ― and Kyoko were waiting out front for him. They then began to shout to him to get his attention. ―, hey Izuku, you're here. Kyoko, Izuku, welcome back. The kids are waiting for you. Izuku. ― okay, better get to the kitchen. It was 7:30 p.m. and Izuku had finished making the kids and Kyoko's dinner. They had been waiting longer than usual since Izuku got healed up at school, but the kids understood and Kyoko already knew what had happened. They all loved Izuku's cooking. He always made sure that not only were most of their meals were good for them, but also that they tasted splendidly. Over the years he honed his skills in the kitchen since he was forgive about and become was a very demanding eater. He could give most experienced chefs a run of their money. Over his time working there, Izuku had gotten to know the most of the kids and their stories. Some of them were there since their parents couldn't take care of them, but most of them were there because they didn't want them. But the two that got Izuku's attention the most were Nozomi and ―. ― remained him so much of himself that he felt the need to support him, not just to try to do good despite how he is but also because he didn't want ― to end up like him, every day trying so hard just to hang on to his morals and keep control of himself despite all the anger of being forsaken by his family, and most of all for ― not to lose his smile like him. And there was Nozomi, his MSTR's only daughter. After the accident with the beam, she had become less hostile towards him, although she still didn't want to know about her mother. Whenever he'd try to bring her up, she would get uncomfortable and change the subject. She still wasn't convinced that Kaori didn't abandon her because she wanted to. Convincing her was going to be more work than he thought. As for ―, Izuku had began training him the day after the entrance exam. He decided that the best way to grow his weak quirk was to teach him how to sense and unlock his chi. His MSTR probably wouldn't approve of teaching someone the secret essentially since he didn't have as much experience with it as her. But Izuku got a good grasp of how low-leveled his quirk was, and since quirks are also physical traits, he needed to make sure that his body was well suited if he wanted to grow his power. ― mostly lacked in his ability to focus and causes his quirk to fizz out quickly, so his first stack was to open up his chi nodes first through mediation, and has been doing that every day after Izuku was done with work. In orphanage's backyard, Izuku. Okay ―, just like always sit down and begin mediating. ― Izuku, I don't know if I can do this. Izuku, what do you mean? ― I mean, I'm not sure if this will really work. How can this really make my quirk stronger? Izuku, look ―, this isn't to make your quirk stronger, it's to make you stronger. Right now you can't make your quirk last longer enough to even launch one attack, and that's because you can't force enough to generate it outward and it just fizzes out. ―, it's because I can't focus. Izuku, yes, most people easily forget that quirks are physical traits, and in your case you have make your body capable of handling your quirk's power since it's an elemental base type. But before we can make your body and quirk stronger, we have to make sure you have the mental discipline to maintain your quirk when you try to use it, and for now we have to make your mind stronger first. So first tell me, why do you think you can't force enough? 𝗀𝐿, I don't know. When I try to use my quirk, for some reason I just have these thoughts in my head that I can't get rid for. Like a voice that keeps telling me, you won't ever amount to anything, and I can't get it out of my head. Izuku, now I think I understand you have doubts about yourself, and the reason has probably something to do with you past. Am I right? 𝗀𝐿, I don't know, maybe. Izuku, tell me, was there ever anyone who ever said that to you before? 𝗀𝐿, my parents. Izuku knew right then that he was in for a tear-jerker of a story, not that he could show it but he could empathize. 𝗀𝐿, you see, my dad was someone who always judged everyone and everything to see if they had any worth to him. He is also the head of a rich family and is a partner to the top scientists of Island in helping in creating weapons and support items for pro-heroes. Izuku, Island, so his father is connected to David Shield, that worthless old man's former sidekick. 𝗀𝐿, my dad had wanted a kid that had a fusion of his and my mom's quirks. Izuku, why did he desire that, and what were your parents' quirks? 𝗀𝐿, his quirk allowed him to reconstruct anything made out of metal, and my mom could analyze any non-living item and repair and/or improve it, even if it was so damaged you couldn't recognize it. But my mom's drawback was that after 5 times she would lose stamina, and even though he had a quirk, Mr. Shield was too smart and could create anything my dad could come up with but better. Izuku, and what else? 𝗀𝐿, I overheard them arguing one night during the week after I got my quirk. It turned out that he wanted a child that could succeed him to one day creating his own company that would surpass Mr. Shield's. But since I wasn't born with the quirk he wanted, he always tried me like a mistake and even tried my mom horribly for having me. Izuku, and what? 𝗀𝐿, teary eyes, my mom started blaming me for his behavior and would slap me around and always say, it's all your fault. Not too long after that they chooses to abandon me, so they left me here with 𝗀𝐿, and I've lived in the orphanages since. Izuku. 𝗀𝐿, what is your father's name? 𝗀𝐿, it's 𝗬𝗪 Kuroba. Izuku, I see, so your full name is 𝗀𝐿 Kuroba. 𝗀𝐿. It used to be, but my parents had my name legally changed to just 𝗀𝐿. Izuku, what? But 𝗀𝐿, because they didn't want me to have the family name after they abandoned so there wouldn't be any succession issues. So they erase any records of me, as if making it look like I never existed. After he was finished, 𝗀𝐿 started tearing up, and this was the first time in years that Izuku had felt the urge to help someone. The last time he ever felt that way was when he first saw the 2 Todoroki twins has gotten burn marks on their left eyes. Back then Izuku had always jumped at the chance to help someone who looked like they needed it because that's what heroes are supposed to do. But since they were always tormenting him on a daily basis, he felt as if there was no point in doing so, because if all they ever gave him was pain, then why help people like them? It was a mental battle inside him against his principles and his feelings, and it still gets to him to this day, but right now he has to focus on helping 𝗀𝐿 overcome his doubts. Even if he can't fix his own problems, that doesn't mean he can't try to help others when they need it. Izuku, cite 𝗀𝐿, I can understand the feeling of thinning you're not good enough, but I wouldn't have offered to train you if I had thought that about you. This first step is no just to help you unlock your chi, it's also to help you overcome those doubts that you have. In order to open your chi nodes, you have to severely focus and not think about anything. You have to be like a stone and not have any thought running through your head at all. Only then will you be able to sense and open your chi nodes properly. 𝗀𝐿, did you really mean that? Izuku, yeah kid, I do. I'm here late after my shift instead of being home, aren't I? So enough with the waterworks and let's get back to training. 𝗀𝐿, wipe away tears, okay? Meanwhile, in the Yagi residence, the Yagis were home having a quiet dinner while contemplating the events that transpired today. Toshiro and Inko were both feeling like under failures. Not only did they fail in bringing their son back, but also after seeing Izuku's reactions and hearing what he had to say about them, they finally fully grasped just how much damage they had caused. Izumi wasn't doing any better. All she wanted was to see her brother again and properly apologize for everything she'd done. But not only did he not give her the chance to do so, but also the cold eyes he gave her and her friends and the cold feeling he gave them had made it clear that he really hated they severely. All three of them were all trying to figure out what was that mysterious presence that Izuku had used on them, and it filled them with unease. A few hours earlier, the two elder Yagis alone with Aizawa saw from 𝐻𝐻𝐿's office what had happened in front of Yue's entrance and rushed over. Once they got there, they saw that Izumi, Bakugo and the Todoroki twins were all on the floor with confused and some scared expressions on their faces. Izumi and Shoka both had tears in their eyes while Bakugo was laying on his back and Shoto was on his knees holding his stomach while all still trying to comprehend what had just happened to them. Inko, Izumi. Sweetie, and you okay? Izumi, Mom Izuku. It's okay Izumi, we know. Aizawa, we saw everything that happened from 𝐻𝐻𝐿's office. Are any of you hurt? Katsuki, that damaged nerd kicked me in the stomach. Damn it. Shoto, he punched me in the gut. It's not serious but damn it hurts. Aizawa, just what triggered this? Izumi, crying I just wanted to hug him and apologize. I waited for so long but he wouldn't even say a word to us. In his eyes, they were full of nothing but hate. Shoka, crying I suspected that he wouldn't forgive just B but I could almost feel his hatred towards us. I just wanted to tell him how sorry I am but it looks he doesn't even want anything to do with us. Shoto, sis don't cry, it's not your fault that bastard is like, Shoka, don't call him that. Shoto, but Shoka, crying you just like me are the reason he hates. He always used to think of you as his best friend and you just turned your back on him and made him suffer from so many years and for what? Did you just want to impress Izumi or something stupid like that? He has every right to hate you so don't you dare talk bad about him, you have no right. Just shut up. Shoto, Shoka, crying no you're not. If I had just spoken up. If I just helped him when he needed it the most then maybe he wouldn't hate us now. Izumi, Shoka, you really love Izuku don't you? I'm so sorry. Aizawa? Okay all of you that's enough. Look I'm not happy about this but since I know the history between all of you I can't say I don't fully blame him especially since I saw his reaction earlier in 𝐻𝐻𝐿's office. But I will have to talk with him. This can't be a regular thing that happens every time you try to approach him especially since you will be observing tomorrow's class. My best advice for you is to not push it and give him space. Izumi, but he's finally within reach, please sensei, mom, dad let's bring him home. Inko, Izumi please believe me we want to, but we still don't know where he lives and as much as I didn't like it Aizawa is right. We can't rush this, if we really want him to forgive us then we have to let him decide that for himself. Izumi, but mom I miss him. Inko Izumi we feel the same but we have to take this slow. And Todoroki I can see that you really do feel regret for everything and I do understand that you didn't directly harm Izuku. I still haven't forgiven you and still don't trust any of you. But I will say this if anyone is to blame it's me, I turn my back on my baby boy before anyone else. This all starts with me, so it's mainly my fault. Inko please stop I'm at fault too, Izuku was right about me but we can't stop here, we can't give up we still have trying making amends for everything. He's finally been found but if we don't keep on trying we're going to lose him forever. Inko, why yeah you're right Toshi. Katsuki, but wait what the hell was that power he used on us? He used something on you. We didn't see anything, it's just looked like you all just froze in places all of a sudden. Aizawa, I think I know, it was probably what he used on the two of you earlier and what he used on me and 𝐻𝐻𝐿 after the entrance exam. But what it is I don't know. Inko, he used that on you and the principal. Izumi, he used that on you mom, dad. Yes but I'm sure what it is, but from what I felt it's some kind of invisible force that stops anyone from getting close to him and it's pretty intimidating. Shoka, it was more like incredibly scary, it was like some kind of pressure that almost crushed us. Aizawa, alright I'm going to try and make him explain what it is tomorrow but right now I suggest that everyone go home it's getting late, and you three and all might will be introducing yourselves to class 1A tomorrow. Yes you're right Aizawa. Izumi let's get going it's been a long day. And the rest of you get going I'll see you in class tomorrow Izumi. Okay dad. Everyone. Yes, sir. As they were about to leave, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 had one last thing she wanted to say. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, Mrs. and 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, wait, I know this doesn't make up for anything and it may be too late for it. But I am still truly sorry for not doing anything. I never wanted Izuku to turn out like this. 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, I know you are being sincere Todoroki, but please understand that it's not easy to forgive you. You still haven't done anything that shows us we can trust you again. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, I know. But I promise I will. I swear I won't give up on Izuku. I won't leave him alone, never again. I hope that turns out to be true. Well, goodbye all of you. Back in the present, after finishing their dinner, Izumi had gone to her room to try and sleep and take her mind off the awful reunion she had with her brother. As for Toshiro, he walked around looking for Inko and found that she was sitting alone quietly in Izuku's old bedroom. They had kept it the way it was since he disappeared. They wanted it to be how it was once they had finally brought him home. For Toshiro, however, it was had walking into that room since then because it was filled with nothing but All Might merch. For him it was filled with remainers of his much he had failed his only son. Inko, are you alright? Inko, crying, no Toshi, I'm not. I thought that this would be the day. The day we brought him home and he'd be back in this room. I had hoped that we could be a real family again. I know how you feel, dear. You know, every time I come in here I hate myself more and more. I mean, just look around. He looked up to me so much and I let him down. Inko, Toshi. Do you think he'll ever forgive us? I don't know, but we can't stop trying. He's our son. We didn't before, but this time we have to show him just how much he means to us. Inko, yes, I know you're right. Let's just got some rest. You have a big day tomorrow, remember? That I do. The next day, it was mainly a day of normal high school classes: English, history, math. During lunch, Izuku had been spending time trying to come up with new training methods for 𝗀𝐶𝐲. He was starting to get the hang of not thinning during mediation, but Izuku had to decide where he would stay after he completely awakened his chi. He had decided to teach him the same way he was taught, minus the hellish type of training he received from his 𝐴𝐻𝐻, since in the eyes of others it would seem a little inhumane. 𝗀𝐶𝐲 wasn't anywhere near ready for that type of training. After lunch, all of Class 1A were just conversing among themselves. Ninus is Izuku, who was just sitting alone reading another book, and keep to him, just that they all heard a loud booming voice coming into the classroom. Even before that, Izuku had already sensed just who it was outside, and it made him agitated. I am here, coming through the door like a normal person. All Might had entered the classroom and the entire class started getting excited that the #1 hero was in their presences. All except for Izuku, since after yesterday he thought he would get a break, but just his luck, the person he didn't want to see the most was in front of him again and was going to be his teacher. Wow, it's All Might he's really teaching this year. This is going to be awesome. Look, he's wearing his Silver Age costume. Welcome to the most important class at UA. 𝐻𝐿 101 here. You will learn the basics of being a hero and what it means to fight in the name of justice. Let's get into it. Today's lesson will pull no punches. Izuku, so we're going to be fighting each other. But one of the keys to being a hero is looking the part. And so All Might had shown the class the cases that contained everyone's hero suits. Get yourselves suited up, and then meet me at training ground beta. Everyone but Izuku. Yes, sir. But before they could leave, Aizawa had walked in and was holding another case that looked big enough to hold a guitar. Aizawa. Hold up. Aizawa. What are you doing here? I thought you had a meeting. Aizawa. I do, but before I go, Izuku. Izuku. Yes, sir. Aizawa. This came for you. It was delivered this morning. It's part of you hero suits. Hey, how come he gets a special case? Izuku, what is that? Who sent it? Aizawa, it's from Flash Princess. Everyone. What? Flash Princess. Momo, he received something from the #3 Pro Hero. Flash Princess, the most popular of all female heroes. She's an inspiration to women everywhere. Izuku, wait, Mr. Aizawa, you're saying my MS tier was here? Everyone. Aizawa, no, she wasn't. She sent someone who delivered it for her. Izuku. Yeah, that makes more sense. Aizawa, here there was also a note for you. No, all of you get going, you're wasting time. Before Izuku got both of his cases to the locker room, he decided to read the note his MS left him. He hadn't heard anything from her in almost a year, and even though his face couldn't show it, he was relieved to hear from her and he just couldn't wait. Note: Dear Izuku, I wasn't able to finish this before I left and it took longer since I'm still on my mission. But I was finally able to do it, so take this with you on your journey to becoming a hero, and I've said this before, try and stay out of trouble. And sure to keep it with you at all time, you never know when you'll need it. I took the liberty of getting you a permit, so you should be fine as long as you don't draw it in public. And be sure to have a full stocked fridge when I get back. I got to tell you, no one here can cook like you can. Now take this along with all I've taught you with pride, my prize student. Sincerely, Kaori. After he was done reading the note, Izuku had felt relieved that his 𝐻𝐵𝐷 was okay, and after reading it he felt nostalgic. Reading that note reminded him of his time with her. His head, he could definitely imagine her saying all that. His 𝐻𝐵𝐷 just had a kind of energy that made him feel calm and warm. And just for a moment he forgot all about his anger of All Might being in his presence. However, he was so focused on it that he didn't notice that a certain black ponytailed girl was standing behind him watching him read the note this whole time. Izuku, Momo, hello Izuku. Izuku, do you need something, Yayazoru? Momo, oh, I was just curious, why exactly did you receive something from the number 3 pro hero of all people? Izuku, that's personal, Momo, but I'm curious. She is the most looked up to among mostly women, especially inspiring new heroes. I personally admire her. Also, everyone heard you say that before. Does that mean you are concerned to Flash Princess in some way? Izuku, like I said, it's personal. Momo, well, alrighty then, but forgive me if I'm wrong, but it seems as though you were angry for some reason before and reading that note had calmed you down. Izuku, wait, she could tell? How could you tell that? To this, Momo didn't know how to answer. You see, for reasons she has yet to make sense of, she had been paying close attention to Izuku since yesterday. But she felt as though she couldn't just come out and say that. It just felt embarrassing, and she was afraid of how he would interpret it. Momo, oh, it was just women's intuition. Izuku, blank face, really. Momo, why Izuku? Tell you a little after class. Momo, surprised, what? Really, you will? Izuku, yes, no, let's get to our locker rooms, we don't want to be late. Momo, yes, you're right, I'll see you at the arena. But you better promise not to go back on your word. Izuku, sight, alright, fine, I promise. Momo, well, alright then. She had gone on ahead of him, and Izuku grabbed both of his cases and made his way to the boys' locker room. As he was changing, there were some stares for the other boys, because once again they all saw all the bruises, scars and burn marks that were all over him, but with a better look. Izuku just pretended not to notice like before and didn't say anything to anyone. He was more focused on the question of why he offered to tell Yayazoru a little bit about himself and his 𝐻𝐵𝐷. He knew she was lying after answering his question from earlier, so he was curious about how she could tell how he was feeling, but telling others about himself wasn't something he was ever planning on doing. But he just decided figure it out later. For now he had to get to the battle arena. As he made his way there, he saw that everyone else was waiting for him, which meant that he was the last to finish. They all turned their head as soon as he came in and were in awe of his hero suit, and not to mention that he also had a katana strapped to his side. Uraraka, wow. Izuku, your costume looks so cool. Momo's slight blush, you surely fitted out nicely. Is that sword that was in that case? Izuku, thanks, your costumes seem. It fit the two of you well. Uraraka, oh thanks, but I should have been more specific about what I wanted. This bodysuit is skin tight. Momo, slight blush, oh yes, thank you, but for me it's necessary for my suit to be like this. Two others were also started to complain Izuku on his costume. It was Lita and a girl with what looked like an earphone Quirk Ida. It looks a little intimidating, but I must say it does look like it works for him. He looks like a total edgelord. It's dark, but the cool type of dark. At this point, All Might has began to speak and had gotten everyone's attention. Alright, now that everyone's here, it's time for combat training. Ida, sir. Before we start, my eye as who are they? Everyone turns their heads to see that 3 other teens were standing in a corner near All Might that looked like they were embarrassed to be there. Alright, these 3 will be observing your training today. Lita, observing. Yes, you see, they are also technically part of Class 1A, but for reasons they have been put on reserves, so they still can't take normal classes with all of you. Izuku, so that's why our class had 3 empty desks. Well, serves them right, Momo, reserves. I've never heard of UA doing something like that before. It's something new that was decided this year. Anyway, you three please introduce yourselfers. Izumi, oh. Hi everyone, I'm Izumi Yagi. Katsuki, I'm 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, and I'm planning on being a new #1 hero, so you extras stay out of my way. Well, isn't he cocky? Ida, I remember those two from the exam. And that just leaves you. Shoto, I'm Shoto Todoroki. After hearing that everyone but Izuku turned their heads towards Shoka Uraraka. Wait, Todoroki. So does that mean? Shoka, why is my twin brother? Momo, oh I see you two do definitely look alike. Now that that's out of the way, let's get going. Now for this I'm going to move you 2 steps forward. Most of the villain fights you see in the news take place outside, however statistically speaking run-ins with the dastardly evildoers take place indoors. Backroom deals, home invasions, underground lairs, truly intelligent criminals stay hidden in the shadows. Now normally you would be in teams of 2, but since there are 19 of you I've decided to go with teams of 3 for all of you. Menida, but sir, that still leaves one person out. Yes, you're sitting out Menida. What? Why me? Because I've read your records, and I don't want to see any improper behavior from you. Menida, but. Anyway, let's get this. Got after that almost the entire class started bombarding him with questions. Izuku noted while All Might was trying to quiet everyone down that he had something in his hands. Izuku, a script really? Why did they make him a teacher? The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The hero team must try and foil their plans. To do that, the heroes must capture the villains or recover the weapon. Likewise, the bad guys succeed if they protect it or capture the heroes. So we will decide the teams by lottery. Ida, is that really the best way? Momo, no, it makes sense. Izuku, yeah, I can see the logic in it. Lida, how so? Izuku, pros often have to team up with heroes from other agencies on the spot. There's no way to prepare for an unexpected situation. Ida, yes I see, forgive my rudeness. No sweat young man, now draw. After everyone had drawn their lots, All Might started to announce which teams would be going up against each other. Izuku found himself paired up with Momo and Uraraka as Team A. They would be up against Shoka. He was paired with a girl named Toru Hagakure and a guy named 𝐻𝗭𝐴. Izuku's team being the villains and the others the heroes. Uraraka, hey Izuku Momo, let's do our best. Momo, I must say I'm not all that confident I can be much again Todoroki-san, she's really powerful. Uraraka, hey don't say that you'll be fine. Izuku could feel the sense of doubt that Yayazora was feeling inside and he could empathize, but he can't have this. In this test everyone has to be on their game. He did however saw this as an opportunity to show those 5 the power he now possesses and to send the message that he is no longer defenseless and will crush anyone who tries to cross him. But this was still only a test, and even if he wanted to humiliate Shoka he has to prioritize the mission first, and so he decided to get out of his comfort zone and at least try to work with his teammates. Izuku, you'll be fine. Momo, what? Izuku, I said you'll be fine. You were accepted into the school best known for grooming out the best heroes around and are a member of the first class in the hero course. Besides, you wouldn't have been recommended if you didn't have what it takes, right? This didn't just surprise Momo but the internet class, since he said that out loud. Some of the class had the impression that he was quite loner, that didn't want to interact with anyone. So this really caught everyone off guard. But it did the trick, and Momo suddenly had more confidence now and started getting a little closer to Izuku with a little smile and started thanking him. Momo, yes you're right, thank you Izuku for your encouragement. I'll give this my all. Izuku, sweet drop 'em right. Now let's get going, the both of you. Uraraka/Momo, right. Unnoticed by them, Shoka was watching closely and was feeling annoyed by another girl was getting close to Izuku, but she was feeling more sad by the fact Izuku had actually comforted another girl like it was natural. He was never that confident in the past, even when he tried to help her back when they were little, whenever she was sad from all the issues with her father before all the bullying started. She wishes he could be like that with her again. Izumi and Shoto were also watching and could see how sad Shoka was by witnessing all that. They both knew just how much in love she was with Izuku, and as for Katsuki, he didn't really care and was just annoyed that he wasn't the one up against him. Izuku's team had made their way to the room where they were supposed to guard their missile, As they were waiting for the single two for when the heroes would come from them, they started discussing strategies. Uraraka, so what's the plan, guys? Momo, I'm not sure. I know Todoroki-san can control ice and Hagakure is invisible, but I'm not sure about 𝗧𝗟. Izuku, before anything tell what are your quirks? Uraraka, mine's called zero gravity. I can make this weightless by touching the and cancel my quirk by closing my fingers together. But a drawback is if I use it too much I get nauseous. Momo, my quirk is called creation. I can produce different non-living objects from exposed parts of my body, as long as I understand its atomic configuration. Izuku, oh I see, so that's why your costume's so revealing. Momo, blushing hey I can't help it. Izuku, anyway thanks for telling me, I think I the perfect plan for us. And it's going to the both of you to pull it off. Uraraka, really? What is it Momo? Yes, do tell Izuku, listen carefully. As the three were busy strategizing, Shoka and her team had began making their ways toward the room where the weapon was being kept while her two teammates were trying to discuss what to do once they got there. Hagakure, so what's the plan? Shoka, well I'm planning on freezing them down so we could just go and secure the weapon, but we might need a backup plan just in case. I don't want to risk freezing you guys too. Hagakure, well I can make myself completely invisible if I take off my costume and sneak up behind them if needed. 𝗧𝗟, and I have tape dispensers on my elbows that I can use to capture them. Shoka, I see, 𝗧𝗟 you be my backup and Hagakure you stay hidden just in case we need to sneak up on them. 𝗧𝗟, Roger Hagakure, you got it. They has finally made their way to the intense where the other team was waiting inside and made their way inside. But were shocked at the sight before them. The intermissile was almost completely covered in what looked to be black energy that was acting as some kind of shield. And it was only Izuku and Momo in front of them with Uraraka nowhere to be found. And from some reason Momo was wearing sunglasses. 𝗧𝗟, hey where's their third teammate? Izuku, serious she doesn't need to bother herself, me and pointed to his left her are more than enough for you. In the observation room all the students and All Might were witnessing to what Izuku had just done. And three of them were the most shocked for this was the first they saw Izuku in action with his quirk. Tokoimi, what do you think he's planning to do by leaving Uraraka out of this? Ida, I'm not sure, but somehow he's managing to keep the weapon safe for now. But I thought his quirk was an enhancement type. Katsuki, what the hell? Shoto, how is this possible? Izumi, Izuku how can he have a quirk? Katsuki, just what the actual F, that 𝗏 is supposed to be quirkless. Ida, language. But wait what do you mean quirkless? Izumi, he is supposed to be quirkless. Ida, are you concerned to Izuku in some way? Izumi, he's my brother. Everyone, what? Well looking at your face I guess I can see some resemblance. Ida, but didn't you see what he did at the exam? There's no way he was quirkless. Katsuki, damn it just what the hell are you up to Deku? Izumi, whispers Dad, did you know about this? I'll tell you everything later Izumi. Izumi, okay son just what exactly has happened to you? Shoka and her team were confused as to what Izuku was doing and she was more on edge due to how much Izuku's personality was so different from how he was 3 years ago. But she didn't have the time to worry about that and launched a wave of ice that was just strong enough to immobilize the two of them, but before it could hit them Izuku has achieved his mortal flame fist and punched the ice which caused it to evaporate it. This shocked Shoka even more, not expecting him to also be able to use fire. As the water vapor was about to disappear Izuku shouted, Yayazora now. And in that instant Izuku closed his eyes and Momo had tossed a flash bomb into the air and once it went off the entire room was filled with a flash of light that blinded the three other team. Then Izuku had raised his 2 index fingers up and they used shadows control. To manipulate the shadows the light formed on Shoka and 𝗧𝗟 and turned them into what he likes to call dark restraints, and wrap around them. And once they were captured they all heard someone yell, release, and then a net that was floating up in the air had dropped on top of Hagakure that was only about 3 feet away from them to their left. As the hero team were regaining their sight back they saw that Uraraka was in the corner behind some boxes and she was also wearing sunglasses, but for some reason another net had also fallen but had landed in front of the room's back door. And that was that the hero team was captured. They had completed the test. Monitor T. The heroes have been captured. The villain team wins. Back in the observation room, the two teams had made their way back, and once they did, Katsuki had began to charge toward Izuku with explosions forming in both hands. Katsuki, Deku, you damn bastard, you better explain yourself now. Izuku was about to grab a hold of his neck since he left it wide open and pin him to the wall to stop him. But before he could, All Might quickly managed to grab his head and push him down to the ground. It wasn't enough to hurt him, just calm him down, but this left the pro in a bad mood. Katsuki, hey All Might, what are you, mad? Bakugo, if I were you I would calm down, or did you forget your position? Katsuki, widen eyes. A lighting, sorry about that. So does anyone here want to tell me who the MPV was in this exercise? Momo, it was clearly Izuku, sir. He was the one who came up with the plan and kept a cool head through the test. Todoroki-san team did have a good strategy, having Hagakure try and sneak up on us, but in the end Izuku had completed control over the battle and won. Izuku, no, you wrong about two things. Momo, what do you mean? Izuku, Hagakure didn't move from where she's standing once she got into the room, so it was clear to me that Hagakure was their backup plan. It was clear by Todoroki's expression and actions that she wasn't expecting my black cocoon, and because of her failed attempt at keeping a level head, she foolishly cost her team the win. Actually, she couldn't have won regardless, but I know that I have to keep myself under control, at least in front of others. Momo, oh I see, but wait, what was the other thing I was wrong about? Izuku, that it was me that won. My plan couldn't have worked without you and Uraraka. And you two didn't even know what my quirk was, and you still trusted me. I couldn't do any of it on my own. Uraraka, wow, thanks Izuku, you're right, we won as a team. Momo, tiny blush T, thank you Izuku, yes, you're absolutely right, we all won together. Throughout the whole test, Momo was feeling insecure about herself because she could figure out how to counter the other team, but Izuku came up with something on the fly. Izuku knew what she was feeling and decided to act humble and try to erase some of those doubts. He wasn't sure why he did it. If it was anyone else he would have just said nothing, but for some reason there was something about Yaoyorozu that just made him go against his nature. But he didn't think too much of it and just figured that it was his way of learning how to maintain his beliefs as a hero despite all of Yang's negative influences. Before the next match could start, the other students and All Might had some questions for Izuku and about his plan. Ida, excuse me Izuku, but I was wondering, what exactly did you do back there? What's with your quirk and how did you plan that? Uraraka, oh that's right, I thought that your quirk was an enhancing type. Momo, I must say I'm curious about that as well. What was that you did? Izuku, cite my quirk as many different abilities. What you saw is what I call shadow control, Tokoyami, shadow control. Izuku, yes, you see I have the ability to manipulate shadows. I used the shadow that the missile was forming and changed it into a shadow shield of black cocoon. My plan was to immobilize two of them with their own shadows, but since I was putting more power into protecting the missile from them, I needed the shadows to be bigger and darker there for stronger. That's why I had Yaoyorozu make a flash bomb. Actually, that's a lie. If anyone but her was my opponent, I would have had no trouble making their shadows stronger on my own. But I couldn't focus with the thought of strangling Todoroki at the chance to do so and was afraid of actually seriously hurting someone. I may hate her, but I can't go around seriously injuring anyone. Like it or not, I'm stuck with her, and the rest for the next 3 years I have to learn how to keep my negative emotions under control. Shoka, B, but how could you use fire? Izuku, I'm not telling you that. Shoka, B, but Izuku, annoyed, I said I'm not telling. Shoka, okay Ida. Okay. So no, I see why the other two had sunglasses on, but why did Uraraka had to stay hidden? Izuku, that was to capture Hagakure. Since she's invisible she couldn't produce a shadow, so that's why I had Yaoyorozu make 2 nets. Yes, about that. How could you have known where she was if you couldn't see her? Izuku, sour face, I can sense the presences of people, and that's how I located her. So I had Uraraka have both nets float and have her stay hidden with a clear view of the front and back entrances. If the back door had opened but no one was visibly seen, she would have released the nets right away, and me and Yaoyorozu would have dealt with the other two. Hagakure, you can really tell where I was, that's amazing. But how did Uraraka know when to drop the net? Izuku, remember when I pointed to Yaoyorozu? That was one of my singles. If you were close to us, I would point to the left of me as a way of saying, wait until the flash, and my other signal for dropping the net was when I extended my 2 fingers upward. But if you came from the back door, I would have pointed straight behind me, and that would have been Uraraka's signal to drop the net immediately. Hagakure, wow, that's awesome, you really had everything figured out. Zero, yeah, no kidding, we didn't have a chance. Ida, Izuku, I just have one more question. Yagi told us that you're her brother, is that true? Momo, wait, brother. You two are related. Izuku. Ida, Izuku. Izuku, I don't know what you're talking about, I have no family. Izumi, but Izuku. She however couldn't finish because in that instant Izuku had stared at her with his cold and hateful eyes as if telling her to keep her mouth shut. This made Izumi and All Might sad to hear that Izuku doesn't consider them as family anymore. Shoto saw how sad Izumi was and wanted to say something, but she saw her expression and gestured him to be quiet, and he did. Alright then, enough of that for now, let's continue with the other matches. As the rest of the went on, Izuku paid close attention to his classmates' matches and saw that none of the matches really impressed him, but did see that they had potential for growth. Once the class was over, he had changed back into his regular uniform and was getting ready to head to work with his katana in hand, wrapped in some kind of cloth so no one outside could tell what was inside. But before he could leave, he had to stop by the classroom and get his school bag, and once he got there he was approached by many of his classmates and they started complimenting him on a job well done during the test, and he got to know a few of their names. He got to know Mina Ishido, Ijiro Kirishima, Kyoka Jiro, Tsuyu Azui, and Denki Kaminari. And like his fifth day, he was shocked that so many people were giving him praise and being friendly with him. Back when he was quirkless, everybody always avoided him and treated him like dirt and was always by himself, but then again he's seen for himself that that's just how this world is now. As he left and was about to make his way out, he sensed the presences of Izumi and her friends near the front entrance and chose to use shadow control to move inside the shadows and slowly made his way to the outside while staying hidden so they wouldn't notice, because he didn't want to have another mishap like yesterday again. He slowly stepped out of the shadows and began walking to the station. But before he could, he saw that Yayazoru was in front of him. She looked as though she was waiting for someone and soon turned around and saw Izuku and called out to him. Momo, oh Izuku, hey. Izuku, oh hey Momo, are you hearing home now? If so, do you have some time before you go? Izuku, I'm heading to work now. Momo, wait, you have a job, but you're in high school. Izuku, I live alone so I have to work. Actually, I don't really have to, but Nstia will kill me if I disobeyed orders. Momo, oh I see. And what do you do? Izuku, I work for an orphanage. Well, I'm heading this way, see ya. Izuku, what is it now? Momo, if that's the way you're going, then you have to go into Rose Hills Orphanage. It's the only one in that direction. Izuku, she's head of it, and what if it is? Momo, blushes WLM. If you want, why not let me give you a ride? My house is in the same direction. Izuku, little surprised, thanks. But I'm fine going by, Momo. Please, I insist, and besides, you did say you'd tell me a little about yourself after class, remember? Izuku did say that he would, and he still wanted to find out for himself why he even made that promise in the first place. Izuku sighed. Okay, fine, whatever, I accept. Momo, good to hear. After 5 minutes, Momo's limo had arrived and the two got in. Then she ordered her driver to stop by the orphanage first to drop off Izuku and then made their way. As they were driving, Momo began to ask Izuku questions relating to his background. Momo, so Izuku, tell me, is your sword covered in that cloth? Izuku, yes Momo. Why did you bring it with you? Izuku, my MSTR told me to keep it with me at all times. She even went to the trouble of getting a permit for me so I wouldn't get in trouble when I'm out in public. Momo, your MSTR? Oh, do you mean Flash Princess? Yes, I wanted to know how are you concerned to her and why do you call her MSTR? Izuku, she was the one who trained me to control my quirk, and she was also the one that taught me the way of the sword. That's why I call her MSTR. Momo, okay, but how did you ever meet her and why did she decide to train you? Izuku, she found me when I was all alone and decided to take me in as her student. Momo, she found you by yourself, but what about your family? Izuku frowned. I don't have one. Momo, why you don't? But don't that Yagi girl say you were her brother? Izuku annoyed. Believe me, I don't have a family. Momo, okay driver, excuse me miss but we've arrived. Momo, oh it looks like we're here. Izuku, so it seems, I better get going. Momo, right well goodbye Izuku. Before he closed the car door Izuku thought it best to try and break some of the tension that had built up. Izuku, hey Yazor. Momo, yes. Izuku, thanks for the ride, I enjoyed your company. Momo, smiling you're welcome Izuku, I'll see you tomorrow okay. Izuku, yes see you tomorrow. And so she had driven off but Izuku noticed by her expression that she was happy by him thanking her. Why she would feel that way he couldn't understand but aside from that he still didn't have a clear answer as to how she had managed to get him out of his usual character. Izuku was hoping by agreeing to her offer it would help him find the answer but it just left him with more questions. But that was something he could figure out another time. Right now he had to head inside and get to work. But little did he know 𝗀𝐿 had a surprise waiting for him that he was dying to show him.